Oh shit. Oh shit. Guess who's back? Back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend. Not Shady, but Tajy. Taji's back.
Oh, well,
Hello?
well. Hello, hello.
Oh hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. It's going fantastic.
Hell yeah. Is it okay if I stream? I just started streaming again. Um,
Oh, yeah, no, go
alright,
ahead.
cool. Yeah, I didn't want to blindside nobody. The Blind Side. That was
No,
an interesting
it's all
movie.
good. Hold on, let me see if I can. Okay. How you doing? How you been?
Doing good. How about yourself? I had a solid weekend. How have you been since we last conversed? Since our last conversation?
Uh, you know, I've been good. I've just been chilling, just been working hard, hardly working.
True that. True that. Are you're still in school, right? Like, is it like summer semester you're in, or is it
Um,
kind of like internship time,
I'm in
or
summer semester, but no, like we're off like right now. But I
okay.
have I have like my summer classes and everything.
True. Feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you said you're not history, but like a sociology, more like.
For my major,
Yeah.
I'm a math major.
Matt. Oh shit. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
I have like a minor in philosophy, but like
That's the way to do
math
it.
major.
Don't be a philosophy major. Don't do that shit.
Yeah, no, that's he said I should do it. And I was like, no, that sounds kind of. I don't know what I would do with that. I thought it was like law or something, but I don't want to do any of that. So,
I feel that. I feel that. Oh,
yep. But
do you like look forward, like, do you plan on going into law like down the line?
no,
No,
absolutely not. Well, I
no.
mean, maybe
Law
if
school
like
sounds
interests me later on, but
yeah. Law school sounds a little less than titillating.
yeah. I mean, I guess it'd be like fun, like get paid to argue with people, but I don't know if it'd be worth the extra hassle. And like I like the math works for me.
I feel that. I feel that. All right, I'm gonna turn on some random YouTube playlist.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Um. Works. And mute that site. Yeah. All right, tight. So I think where we last picked off, it was us just like kind of going over whether or not I didn't like I think I used the term throat the
Yeah,
cock
so
of
I
law
looked.
enforcement.
The direct quote was you said that just because I'm a sock them doesn't mean I have to deep throat the cock of police.
Right.
Um, like, yeah, I think that's where we left off last time
Okay. All right.
on Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. Feel that. Feel that. Yeah. Like
Uh,
and I think since like, we last conversed, like I think I don't know if you remember this, but I said I'm also what you would call a sockdem, a social democrat. But like, what makes you a sockdem? Like, why would you call yourself a sockdem or consider yourself as such?
honestly, God, at this point, I don't even think the label really. I don't think the label really matters. I think I'm fairly progressive, fairly left wing. Honestly, I just keep the sock them because it triggers the fuck out of progressives when they see it, and it triggers the fuck out of conservatives when they see it. So,
Hmm.
um, I think initially the sock them thing was like sexy to me because it sounded like I could be like socially progressive, economically somewhat capitalist, and not have like incongruency. But I don't think the label really matters that much anymore.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. I feel that. What was I gonna say about that? Do you not see sockdems and progressives as the same?
I consider progressive kind of in the same vein as like being a feminist nowadays, where like I would probably call myself a progressive, but the word is so toxic and cancerous that there's so much baggage, and I just don't feel like having to explain myself to like every person I talk to. Where I'm like, I'm progressive, but like, no, I'm not crazy progressive. Or like, I think you can trans like a 4 year old, or I'm not a crazy progressive. Or I think we should like liberate half the country and make it socialist. um,
Hmm.
or where we should have like drag shows with like underage kids. Like I'm progressive and like I like socially progressive objects. I'm fairly left. I like trans people. I like gay people. I think cops do some pretty fucky shit sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, I go by the same labels you go by at the same time, but I consider myself progressive. I think you're also progressive. It's just
Yeah, I
odd
probably
that
would
that
be progressive. It's just that progressives online, especially on Twitter, are so toxic. So like I have to like
yeah.
distance myself from them.
Yeah, but I mean, like you can say that for like other groups of people that like you probably share the same label with. Like for me, like let me see, let me think of what other things I share a label with. Um, by label, I'm Christian, right? But I don't share a label, but I don't share like beliefs with like Southern Baptists or with like really fucking crazy people, and crazy churches and things like that. But I still go by that label in particular. It doesn't alter like how I consider myself just because other people with that label are batshit insane. But but there is like objective truth to like these labels, right? So like if someone is progressive, then I would expect them to be like very scrutinous of the police. I would expect them to be pro like healthcare and education access. I would expect like people to believe in things like systems, right? Like a lot of conservatives don't believe in systems. They're like, oh, entirely individual actions. Um, and I don't think that's like
Uh,
super accurate when we're talking about like progressive policies. I think that we should care about like things like systems way more. Would you agree with that?
yeah, I probably agree with all of that. Just the issue is that progressives constantly, and I guess that's what we're gonna talk about, shoot themselves in the foot. And so it's really annoying to have to be like, I'm progressive, but like I'm not that progressive. But like someone like randomly asked me like, "Are you progressive?" I probably just be like, "Yeah, I'm progressive."
Oh
I don't
yeah,
like
I feel
or
that.
like if like someone came to me like, "Are you like a feminist? Like you believe in like equality for men and women?" I'm like, "Yeah," but like just it's annoying to be like I'm a feminist and then have to explain like why I disagree with like the crazy like rat femmes who think trans women are trying to enter bathrooms to like molest people.
Yeah, yeah. I feel that. I dog. The thing about that is like we probably are both feminists. It's just that I understand that that label is a toxic ass label. Um, it's a fucking toxic ass label for real. Um, yeah. So what I wanted to kind of circle back to with this one, right? I know you
Okay.
weren't appreciative of me saying like throat the cocks of police.
No, listen, I
Um,
love deep throwing cock. Okay, we can go there anytime. Okay, it's all right.
right. Yeah. So my thing is that I'm someone where I'm very pro system, right? Where I'm very pro, hey, like in order to enrich the lives of like as many people, if not all people, then we have to look at like systems. And then like where we're fucking up with like how we build our systems and like how we can adjust and change systems to make the lives of Americans and just people on the planet better. Um something that I've been kind of disappointed with like the Destiny and Abba thing. Well, I don't Abba's not progressive, but with like with Destiny and with the people defending Destiny with donating to the Atlanta Police
Are we
Foundation.
circling back to the Uncle Tom discussion? I just wanted to make sure that's where we were at.
No, 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 no. Um
Okay.
this isn't like have to do with race at this point. Like my disappointments with the SOCDEM, like just the SOCDEM camp or the online SOCDEM camp, who consider themselves like fans of Destiny. I've
Mhm.
been like particularly disappointed in the past month with you motherfuckers. Um,
Oh, okay.
and
It's okay.
and
We
like I'll see
probably are.
people,
That's all you just say.
yeah, and I'll see people like kind of defend like donating to the Atlanta Police Foundation and defend like things like the Cop City Project and things like that in Atlanta. And it's just really weird because you don't have to defend these things to be a SOCDEM. You don't have to defend these things to be progressive. And I would posit that doing those things, defending those things, and being pro Cop City effectively is not something that progressives or SOCDEMs should do. It's kind of antithetical to like the camp that you say that you belong in. And I just don't know how a lot of people that have defended the donation like kind of reconcile those two things.
Um, I don't know how. I don't know how defending police in some scenarios makes you not progressive. I'm not understanding that.
How defending police what? I'm so sorry.
In some scenarios, it makes you not progressive. That's where I'm lost at.
Oh, you can defend the police in some scenarios. It's not that. It's just that I think that the I think that the Cop City project in particular, and the state of police in Atlanta in general, and the state of Georgia, if not entirety of America, is just something that's really flawed. And I don't think I ever can find a situation where in our current system of policing of defending a $10,000 donation to police officers, I just don't see how that's like a reasonable thing to do or something that's even worth defending at all.
Well, the argument would be that by funding police, we're doing what we want to do, which is train police to be better in scenarios where they handle. Um, I'm going to use the word BIPOC, but I actually kind of hate it. Like BIPOC people or like LGBT people.
I wish that were the case, but like I don't see that training police to be better. Like when people say that, and when people are like, don't you guys want more police training? I'm like, yeah, I want more police training, but like, is Cop City going to be the training that? Am I guaranteed that? If not
We don't know
guaranteed,
yet.
then
It's not
why
even done
even
yet.
gamble $10,000? You know, like I don't see any
Uh,
guarantee that the training is going to be better. And when I say better, I mean I don't want to use the word equitable, but I mean where I want to see less instances of police brutality and less instances of like unjust arrests and less instances of just bullshit charges just because cops got mad or cops losing their temper. I like that's what I want to see. But in better training doesn't just like that term isn't necessarily a blanket term for those things. Like better training for what is what I ask. And I don't see any evidence that's better training to lower instances of police brutality. I see it as a city, like literally like a simulation of a city.
mhm.
Like if Disney World made like an urban city is how I see it as. Um these things are just for like crowd control measures and things like that. It doesn't necessarily mean that like it's going to be like not, it doesn't necessarily mean that that training isn't going to be abused in certain ways. Like
Uh,
if I see like police orgs and like organizations and entities like the Israeli Defense Force like kind of like teaming up with this project, like that's not an org or an entity that I think is some are going to be like focusing on like non-lethal measures and like equitable measures for people that they police over.
so
um
I know like progressives seem to have this idea that this is only for like stopping riots. I'm pretty sure we looked at this last time. A lot of training isn't just for like stopping riots or like dealing with crowds. It's gonna be like dealing with like school shootings, robberies, small like hostage situations, and then like fire department training. So it's probably not just for cops. But I think people see Cop City and then they just imagine like cops are gonna be like learning how to shoot black people more efficiently or learning how to plant evidence in like local businesses better
hmm.
or how to deal with like group of Antifa soldiers who are asking for the slightest crumb of equality.
Okay, so why would it be like a simulation of a city then? I just don't see that. Like I see these
Because
claims, right? And I just don't see a good track record of police orgs in Atlanta or the state of Georgia following these claims. Like they like Georgia and Atlanta have like a pretty strong history of like police abusing power with very little consequence. I see a pretty strong history of wait, what's that comment say? I see a pretty strong history of just like police brutality, especially in the past like 5 years in Atlanta in particular, if not just Georgia. All these instances and things like that of police officers doing like kind of fucked up things and just like not really facing charges or too much too much backlash for it. And that's what's kind of upsetting to me is that um defending this doesn't really make sense. Like I'm okay with not donating a dime to Cop City. I'm okay with not donating jack shit. But I can't see defending donating $10,000 to this project, but with no strong scrutiny on what that money's going to, no strong scrutiny on the police actually using it to be more equitable in their practices, no strong scrutiny on or being like less of a chance of brutality. I just see a lot of money given to the police force, to a police force that threatened to quit over vaccine mandates. A lot of them did, like just like quote unquote called sick into work and shit like that. And they did that less than 3 years ago. And now they get like a $90 million project, a $90 million project. that 30 million of that is coming from taxpayer dollars. Then, to my understanding, there's like talks of an additional 30 million come from the taxpayer to make up that 90 million. Um, I see like corporate donors backing it up, like companies that like sell specifically to the police to make money. And police are like the main clients, or like very high ticket clients for them, donating into this project. I don't see the part where the people of Atlanta
Like
don't get fucked over.
everyone's like sick of high crime rates. So generally people
Very
are
true.
okay with investing in police. And then for we can say that Georgia has like a track record with police brutality, but that would probably strengthen the argument why we need better training. Like you would have
Right.
simulated
But then
situations in
but then you'd
cities
have
where
to,
it's
oh, sorry for interrupting you. All right. Yeah, I
no,
agree.
no,
Like better training is great. Better training is good. But better training for what? What I'm saying is I don't see like a lack of brutality measures in there. Like better training can be like, okay, this
well,
person you
say it
can
isn't done yet. We haven't even got to say it yet. Progressives heard this was happening and then lost their minds because it's police and police are always bad.
okay, but like at the
What
same
happened?
time though, like right, I'm not sure. Like I'm not 1000% sure what the training is gonna be for, right? But I'm also like with me not being sure, why the fuck would I defend donating $10,000 to this project if I don't know what I'm gonna get out of it? At the
Well,
very
I'm pretty
least,
sure you made
at
public statements about what's going to be in the city, and then also we can probably just look at like what the donations are going to be set for. I'm pretty sure even if you donate on the site, it tells you like you can choose to send like it to like a particular part of like the Georgia Police Department for like certain types of crimes. So if you want to investigate like more domestic abuse, you can send that money to that area, or if you want to investigate like more like homicides, you can donate to that area. For Cop City, it seems like they're mainly just focusing on simulated issues in cities because they want to be able to better handle situations when they come up rather than being like shooting on the fly. Because I don't think academy training generally is enough for city situations.
you don't think academy training is enough for city situations?
No, not generally.
Okay, so what do you
Seems like we
want?
have so many issues with
What,
cops not knowing how to deal with.
so you think it's an issue with the setting and not so much an issue with the brutality part that's like the pain point for a lot of progressives.
I think cops in this country have a lot of issues with abusing their power and the way they deal with certain groups. I don't think anyone disagree with that. The issue is that this feels like a slight push in the direction of like we're trying to work harder to make our cops better at not fucking up, and progressives are upset because it's helping cops and not like some socialized like we're going to send in the healthcare worker to deal with the shooter because he has a mental health issue and not
Uh, I'm sorry, but
anything
these
else.
all sound like a lot of strawmen for my argument. I'm okay with investing money. At the end of the day, I'm okay with like investing government money to invest in like more psychological evals for police officers,
Mhm.
more scrutiny, more supervisors for police. I'm okay with investing
Sure.
in more like DEI training, like more training as far as like a non-violent communication, like harm reduction measures and things like that. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is like a simulated, is just like a $90 million project that's like a simulated city in a black neighborhood, but no scrutiny, like no, as far as like cutting down on police brutality measures and unjust shootings and shooting on the backside, and things like that, like from police officers that we've seen in Georgia. Like, what I'm not okay with is like those big investments, but without any asks. There's no asks there. There's no enforcement upon those asks after you ask those asks. So it makes me think it's just like money that goes to police officers because they're bitching and moaning over the past 3 years about various things about, oh, we don't like riders. They say to defund the police officers. Oh, they want us to get vaccine. They want us to get vaccines if we're police officers. Like, that's what I see it as. I see it as like just like a good, like a nice little dick suck for the fraternal order or police out in Atlanta and in Georgia in general. I see this as something that can be way more toxic than what you guys are acknowledging. Um, like this is a campus, right? where police officer units from like all over the country and even internationally can come and just kind of like train in a way to like do things like crowd and riot control. But I don't see how that's like such a
Well,
good thing where it's
riot
worth
route control,
$90 million or even ten
police
thousand
officer
dollars.
training, emergency vehicle training, mock hostage situations, mock school shooting situations. I mean, it's like there's a ton in here that isn't just like riot control. I don't know.
Wait, so they need
That
an
seems to
entire
be like
city
the.
for a school shooting situation? They need
I
a
would imagine
Disneyfied
you would need
city
a.
for a school shooting situation where it's going to be like, what is it, like 90 acres or something like that?
Yeah, I imagine the city's not going to be just for school shooting. It's going to be like different scenarios for different type of trainees. And if we're saying it's going to be international, I imagine they're going to have like
The school shooting
tomorrow's like
thing, the school shooting thing
Islam's
sound
turn.
okay. The school shooting thing, that sounds way more justifiable than everything else I'm hearing. But even that, it's like, okay, why do you need this much land for just school shooting trainings, right? Um, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it, big dog. Like
Well, it wouldn't just be school shooting training. It'd be school shooting training, like fire department training, police training.
I
I imagine if they're going to be using emergency vehicles, paramedic training, but that might be an overstep.
okay, all those things like sound like sanitization. Fire department training, I don't see. I don't know. I think the fire department's probably fine. I just assume that they're fine. And then whatever training measures they have seem good to me. EMTs do a great job, especially for the pay they get. Backbreaking
Well,
labor.
it seems like
I
you
don't
need
see
training
fuck
so
ups
you
from the
know how to use the
EMTs or the fire
vehicles,
department. I see fuck ups from the police.
use the
Um,
vehicles more efficiently, so they're not getting like halted while they're trying to train the people to use these vehicles.
to use vehicles, so
And then
EMT
like it's
vehicles.
simulated in like a city. It's simulated in like a city, so that way like they know how to like handle like navigating traffic and then getting to like an emergency rather than being like, okay, like we trained you in a little facility, like we're hope for you, like do the best, like
Is that
when
worth
shit hits
$90
the fan.
million? Like, is there a big pandemic of like EMTs and fire trucks crashing into civilian cars? Like, if I were to
I
Google that right now, will I even find like 5 instances of that happening in the past 5 years
even if it was like, okay, hold on,
in
it's
Georgia?
progressives can't you can't do this as progressive, okay? Because 90% of like the police cop shootings are like 1%, 1%. So we can't say like, oh, it's like 5% people crashing into the like it could be a small issue, but it seems like it's a big enough issue where the city of Atlanta wants to address it, right?
Yeah, my thing, you know what? I was fucked up for using police brutality. Let me just call it unjust policing, right? So even if it's something as benign as an unjust stop, I don't like that. I want that to stop. Um,
Okay, we live in a country, like we live in probably the most populated country on the planet, outside like India or like
wait. So you
China.
think
So like we're
there's
never gonna have like zero.
I'm not saying zero. I do want it to stop, but like zero is not something that I think is like a realistic number. There's gonna be fuck ups in general. But what I'm saying is we should probably like combat like systemic things that lead to the fuck ups versus giving $90 million to mostly police. Like maybe there might be a little splashback onto firefighters and EMTs for this, but most of it's going to police. Most of it is. That's why it's not the fraternal order of firefighters or EMTs or paramedics that are kind of like having these conversations about this project. It's the fraternal order of police that's having these conversations, right? I think it's a little bit disingenuous to say that, oh, it's gonna go to firefighters too. I don't really see the firefighters fighting for it like that. I see the police doing it though. I can't think of a single firefighting org that is like greenlighting this project and like uh making so many deals to make this project happen. I do see it coming from the police side. Like, why is that?
Because the main people is affecting fighting police, right?
Okay,
Like literally named Cop City.
so why even what's even the relevance of using EMTs or firefighters when we're talking about Cop City?
The relevancy is that you keep trying to say it's just for riot control when it's not like the purpose of the city.
It's kind of what I'm seeing it as. It's kind of what I'm seeing it as. I think there's so many things we can do to make policing better without. My thing is that there's so many things we can do that can improve policing, the state of policing in Georgia and the country in general. And I don't see that happening with a $90 million campus. I don't see the need for that in particular. It's kind of like when Donald Trump was like, we need to build a wall to make immigration better. I feel like we can make immigration better without a wall, right? This is like the police version of the wall. Is that's how I see it. Yeah, it might help like a tad bit, but that juice is worth the squeeze for $90 million, and like 60 of that, 30 to 60 of that's coming from taxpayers. Like It's not even worth $1 million from taxpayer money.
The
I
difference would be is that the wall was completely useless. This would be, at the very least, useful for police training in the scenarios they've laid out.
in riot control.
And riot control, police, like robberies, school shootings. Um, we even say like if we want to just say it's just riot control, riots are dog shit for everyone. So I don't know why we would even be against riot control.
Is it worth $90 million to invest in that for one city, or even for the state of
Um,
Georgia?
if that's what
How
the state
like
of Georgia
out of the
decides they want to
past
spend their budget on, I would
100
imagine so.
years, how many major riots happened in the state of Georgia or even in Atlanta itself? Like I know
Uh,
2020, did anything even happen in 2021?
I don't know for Georgia in
2022,
particular, but
2019,
I
or was it
know
just
that
2020?
people were really freaked out about BLM constantly burning down their shit. So I would imagine this was probably fueled by that.
I was in Atlanta during 2020. I was there. I didn't see I
Mm.
didn't see a bunch of shit get burned down. Like I saw footage of the
Maybe
CNN
not
building
in
getting,
your state, but for states like Kenosha or states like Kansas and like
but this is a
other,
facility in the Atlanta area, right?
well, yeah, but like we're gonna see a reverb on like other states who are like, well, we don't want this crazy shit happening in our state, right?
All right, remember where you say that. Remember where you say that there will be a reverberation in multiple states. Okay. I didn't know you believed that too.
Like I imagine like the drag show shit didn't happen in like fucking Florida, but I mean Florida probably didn't want the drag show shit happening, so that's why they have the craziest built on it.
All right. So I'm waiting for the just I'm waiting for the big justification on that one then. But that's fine. That's all good.
I feel like the
Like
justification is pretty clear. It would be that they
that there are
want to
some
train their cops better, so they're giving their cops like a bigger facility because everybody's sick of crime. And if we're gonna say it's only for riots, progressives have a knack for burning shit down when they get upset. So
uh I wouldn't even say that, man. Like dog, like I
you don't
swear to
think
God,
progressives have a
Atlanta.
knack for burning shit down when they get upset? We're
No.
gonna go there
No.
when like 2020, when I think
When
people lost
progressives
millions
were
in dollars of
yeah,
damages. The progressives burning shit down. We want to say
when
that's not something
progressives
they
were
did.
mad about when progressives were mad about different things in
When
2016,
progressives were mad about Jacob Blake,
2017,
who was a liar and a
2018,
rapist, when the police showed up,
2019,
when progressives were mad
2021,
as fuck about
2022, this year,
Kyle
where are the
Rittenhouse.
progressives burning shit down? Where's that happen? So out of the past 10 years, all you can say is 2020.
I mean,
And like
if
even in a city where like if you want to Google this, you can. I think you're by a computer, right? Or are you on your phone?
yeah, I'm on
All
a
right, great.
computer.
If you're by a computer, you can Google
No, my
this.
phone's not
Like
that jacked,
I
so I'm
don't
on
think
the
it's gonna
phone.
be a super impressive number worth $90 million in investing. But you can look at how much damage was done from rioting in 2020 in Atlanta. I don't think it was very much. And you can body
It's
me with this because
it's
I
not
did not look
about
this up yet.
it's not I
Um,
don't know why it's not about it being in Atlanta. It's about people in the country not liking the idea that their shit can get burned down when progressives get upset about something.
when progressive
I
that
don't
see
know how that's
that's you're
I don't know,
already
that's
like because
insane to think
that
about.
assumes so much shit
It'd be the
about
same. It'd be the same thing to me if progressives were like, we don't want like conservatives around our targets because they're going to get crazy if like there's like a pride event. I'd be like, yeah, it makes complete sense.
what? No, not what? All right, can you run that point back one more time,
If
Turbo?
if progressives were like, we don't want a bunch of conservatives near like our like pride events because they get crazy when they hear trans people, I'd be like, oh, yeah, it makes complete sense because conservatives have a knack for getting upset when they hear anything trans. Like Target literally had to pull like half their catalog because like conservatives were threatening to attack workers and shit for their catalog. So I mean, it makes sense that like if people in Georgia are hearing like, hey, people are gonna burn shit down if they get upset, we're gonna like know how to deal with riots and shit when it happens. Like that.
This isn't something that's like super popular with the people of Atlanta. Um,
How is it not when these people are elected officials who voted on this?
this is all right. So we looked this up last time we had a conversation. These are elected
Mm-hmm.
officials that that are getting pushback. Like the pushback is better than the support for this.
I mean, the pushback
The
can't be that
grassroots
good if
pushback is.
it's got greenlit for 30,000 or 30 million more for this fucking
You have
Cop
to
City
like
shit.
close votes and things like that, and like the donors for these people in the Atlanta City Council, like a lot of those donors are people that will profit from Cop City. Um,
I mean, we can say that, but like, I don't think elected officials care about their donors profiting. They want to get reelected, so they wouldn't do this if they were like, "This is going to be super unpopular."
wait, this is something that's relatively unpopular. Just so we're clear, like the people in Atlanta don't like this.
What's like the percentage polling on like, let's say, like unpopularity on this?
There aren't clear polls.
Okay,
The one
well,
poll had like a I think there was like there was less than 500 people voting, to my understanding,
okay.
during the last poll. And like the base of that poll, I think those are already people that were supportive or one thing or another. Sorry, this is we can find the poll numbers on this actually. Um, City of Atlanta. Damn. Fresh articles every day. One second. Let's see if there's a poll. All right. Sorry, I'm reading this right now. I
All right,
wasn't
man.
prepared to talk about this point in particular. Um,
Yeah, no, it's not less deep throwing conversation, so I'm okay with it. It's okay.
yeah, like pretty much my biggest thing about this conversation is I just don't think it's a progressive thing to support. I support police
Okay,
reform, right?
so to be
I don't
clear,
support
we
giving money
got here
blindly
not
to
even from like the
police
Cop
on
City thing. We got here because I think three protesters were under arrest for like fraud, which seems like they kind of did,
how
from what
wait,
I
how's
looked
it
into it.
fraud? How's it
And
fraud? Can you explain it?
so I could be wrong, and more information might come out. My
You're
understanding
doing the thing
of
that
that
Destiny does when
scenario.
he's about to say something
Oh,
wrong.
thank.
He's like, I could
Oh,
be wrong, but
okay. Well,
I'm gonna poison this conversation.
oh,
Sorry
thank
for
you.
cutting you off.
Okay, I'm glad. Okay, I watched Steven like once or twice like a week, and I get okay.
Okay.
Um, what I read was that they were using funds they were getting from, oh thank God, I hit the wrong button, from donations, and they were using that to do other things outside of just bailing people out. They were also like funding like the encampments that were outside of the Cop City shit and everything else. That seems like that's illegal under their tax code. Now that could be wrong. Maybe it's not. Their lawyer said that it seemed weird, but I mean, he's their lawyer, so I expect him to say that's weird. We'll see when the charges are laid out in like a couple days when they go to court for it.
Okay. So, attorney Don Samuel, who's representing the three organizers arrested Wednesday, said prosecutors are
Mhm.
alleging his clients used money from donors to reimburse themselves for administrative expenses, and quote, that's not what the donors thought they were doing with their money, end quote. An open quote from Don saying, that's the prosecutor's theory. We absolutely disagree, said Samuel. But you know, needless to say, all charities are allowed to have administrative expenses. Um, Damn, that's what they're saying, just for admin expenses?
Well, if you're using your funds improperly, yeah, you're committing fraud, I would imagine.
All right. That's that's the fraud we're seeing. So right now we have like the very good faith police in Atlanta charging trying to give borderline RICO charges to people, and also at the same time like charging people for domestic terrorism for essentially just camping. At the most, I understand a loitering charge, I understand a trespassing charge, but domestic terrorism for setting up a campground in a fucking forest is what we're seeing like the state of Atlanta, not state of Atlanta, the state of Georgia do against some of these people.
I
Um
don't follow all of these. Are they really just all out there camping? Is that really what they're getting called domestic terrorists? They're all just camping. They're all just singing "Kumbaya" by the campfire.
they're pretty much loitering, yeah. I would admit if they got arrested for loitering, I'd be like, shit, that's tough. Y'all niggas were loitering. But
Okay,
domestic
hold on.
terrorism, that has
Now,
meaning to
Easter
it.
egg got arrested for fraud. are you telling me the people who are getting charged for domestic terrorists, all they're doing is just camping, and then the cops come and they're fuck them up? That's what's happening out there.
Yeah, I'm assuming they were told to leave and told not to be there. That is trespassing. It is. I agree that's
Okay.
trespassing. But the commit
So
like
like,
the committing of terrorist acts in the perpetrator's own country against their fellow citizens, that's what we're calling domestic terrorism now. Like that's domestic
so
terrorism right there. But like
I gotta look into these
that's not
charges.
these
It's
people
all
that
just
are
gonna be like
camping there
people camping.
and get hit for camping with domestic terrorism charges, that's beyond the pale. And these are the people whose word you're taking for saying, "Oh, this is going to be used to improve policing," and like my skepticism would be like, "How does this improve policing?" Like you're saying, "Oh, well, the cops are saying this and the cops are saying that, so let's take the cops' word," even though like they're clearly lying about certain things. Like I don't understand like the difference. I don't understand how your connection between loitering and camping to domestic terrorism. I don't know how that's a line that even connects for the state of Georgia or for you and other SOCDEMs. I don't understand that.
How my line connects from lawyering to domestic
Yeah,
terrorism.
these niggas are loitering. They're loitering. They're trespassing. Um, I'm trying to think of other charges that could probably fit. I wouldn't even say disturbing the peace, but maybe. Um,
I just,
Perhaps
I
refusing
mean,
arrest. But like
I could
domestic
be wrong.
terrorism, I just
Okay,
don't
'cause I haven't
understand
looked
that.
into all these arrests. Uh, but I
But
highly doubt they're getting
but
hit with
but
domestic
hey,
terrorist
one
charge
other question:
for.
what were any of them doing that constitutes a direct domestic terrorism charge?
So I'll just finish. Don't I don't know all the charges. I doubt these guys are just out there camping and they're getting hit with domestic terrorist charges.
But
They
what were they
might, and if they
doing?
are,
What
that's
were
fucked up. But
you're asking if like Georgia has ever had something that like anything remotely corrupt related to policing, or if they've ever overcharged somebody.
mm,
Um, and I'm saying like, is there anything that you think could justify it? Like just from what you've read and what you've seen?
I imagine if you're doing like vandalism and shit, that's probably
Yeah, maybe
closer to
vandalism.
domestic terrorism.
You think
Yeah,
that
which I
vandalism
imagine
can
is
be
probably
domestic
what the
terrorism?
yeah.
All right, so
That
terrorism is,
but
to
why is
my
it
understanding,
surprising?
entirely a felony. Do you
Mhm.
think vandalism equals terrorism, domestic terrorism?
If you're attacking police, and
Wait, who
I could
attacked
be wrong.
police?
Okay, I haven't seen all these charges. Okay,
Okay.
so my understanding is that these are just charges they're saying they might do. They haven't actually done any of these yet, but they might have charged people with terrorism. But if I'm taking a progressive playbook, if you're attacking cops and attempting to burn shit down, or destroy shit, I imagine that's domestic terrorism. Is that incorrect?
Hmm.
So
You probably could
we can
eke
just
that
look
out
up.
if you're attacking police officers. Yeah, you can probably eke out directed terrorism for that. But like, I haven't seen the evidence for that.
Um, oh, I should crash. That's um.
People charged with domestic terrorism, cop city.
Yeah, we can just look it up. Look at this.
Am I just gonna get
Oh, it
headshots, or am I
actually
gonna
did
get like any
crash.
actions related to it? Damn, is somebody from fucking France? That's crazy. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. I'm waiting for like just like reasons for
So I'm seeing
why.
like um on the 5th we had people throwing Molotov cocktails and fireworks at police officers, destroying construction equipment by fire and vandalism. Like this will all constitute, I would imagine, some form of domestic terrorism.
One second. All right, I'm seeing property damage and seeing trespassing while protesting. I can see property damage. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with charging someone for property damage, vandalism. I'm okay with
Okay,
charging
I don't
people
want
for
to like trigger you,
trespassing.
okay? Because I but Atlanta PD said they had Molotovs, they were vandalizing, they were destroying
Wait,
construction equipment. But now I know
so they were
we're gonna
using
say this is the
Molotovs
cops
on
saying this.
cops, or
It seems like it. Fireworks.
are there any pictures of? Let me
You
see if
know,
I can
throw
find pictures
large
of
rocks,
Molotovs.
bricks, Molotov cocktails, and fireworks at police officers. Now, maybe they were trying to just they were warning shots, okay,
Let
and the
me see if
cops
I
just
can
took it the wrong
find.
way. Or they were trying to throw them a party because they really love Cop City, their favorite place on the planet.
Wait, I'm just gonna look for Molotov cocktails. Can I get a single picture?
Hmm.
I just want to see any evidence that just suggests Molotov cocktails at all. All right, 1 second. All right, 1 second.
Here's a question. I'm actually curious.
Yeah,
We would say the January 6 people, they were probably domestic terrorists, right? We would agree on that?
yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
But that's breaking into like a Capitol building, with the intent of like harming literal politicians, because they don't like the outcome of an election. So right there, you have like an action. You have a reason for the action.
Mhm.
You have the, like, just the intense targeting, like the high level of violence that's like intended with that. So yeah, a lot of them probably would be domestic terrorists. And I am seeing that there are pictures of fireworks. I'm seeing fireworks. I'm just waiting for a Molotov cocktail picture. Um,
Okay.
I'm seeing
Will we
graffiti. Wait a second.
will we say will we then say attacking police officers with the intent of making some political change? Would that not be some form of domestic terrorism?
I just from what I've seen. 1 second. Damn it, no signs of Molotovs. I'm looking for a sign of Molotovs. I'm just not necessarily seeing it. So you're saying, yeah, okay. So I'm seeing, if someone's like firing fireworks, I'm okay with that charge. But
Okay.
23 people out of that group is just like, that's insane to me. I just don't necessarily believe that. That's
Okay.
one firework. That's one cluster. Um, but yeah, if those are some pictures, there might be more pictures. Um, all right. So for more examples of like Georgia police corruption now, like if
Mhm.
we look at like maybe the case of like Ahmaud Arbery that happened in an Atlanta suburb, to my understanding. 1 second,
Hello?
I'm just reading. I'm just reading the
Oh.
comments.
I was like, "Oh,
Oh
what?"
yeah, sorry about that. I was reading the comments real quick.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, so just more examples of like Georgia police corruption. Now I'm gonna bring up. Are you familiar with like the story of Ahmaud Arbery? Are you familiar with what happened?
Okay, my recollection can be bad. This was the guy who was jogging. Some like three white dudes saw him, thought he was like robbing from like local houses, chased him down and killed him with a shotgun. That's him.
Yeah,
But they
yeah.
said
They
they
saw
like
him.
fought with the shotgun and yeah.
Yeah, let's add a little bit more to it though. All right, so these people are jogging. Not these people. Ahmaud Arbery is jogging. In a suburb near Atlanta. I think it's about 45 minutes away from Atlanta. Um, a father and a son, and like the friend of a father, I believe. So three men essentially like chase him in a pickup truck with guns. I believe the father is a former cop. Um, Essentially like getting into a scuffle with him that they egged on because they fucking chased him. Ended up shooting him. And then like all three men go home, and no charges are pressed for months and months and months until video footage that was idiotically released by one of the perpetrators of the crime gets released. And before that, the police officers in the state of Georgia decide like, but before that footage gets released, they're okay with this guy getting shot. No arrests happen. And no questions asked really. Um, and these are the police officers that you say are going to benefit from Cop City, right? But if a police force is like this corrupt, where like they see like a former cop like shoot a guy, they take his word, don't even arrest anybody that played a part in shooting this person. Um, and even though the standard protocol, like for self defense, like say if someone, even if someone broke into your house, like right now, if someone broke into your house, like, and if you shot them, like you would get fucking booked for the night. Like just even if it was self defense, purely self defense. So them giving these guys like scot free, until until they release fucking footage incriminating themselves. Like I think that's just like another example of just kind of like fucked up policing in the state of Georgia. Um, and that's just like kind of one of the examples that I have right there for you.
I mean, I probably agree on the Ahmaud Arbery case. But then that gets me to like Top City being bad.
No, that's just an example of police being corrupt in the state of Georgia is what I was giving. Um,
Okay.
I think that
I mean,
I think arresting
I'm sure
people
I can
for a
find an
bail
example of like
fund.
cops saving like some like puppy from a tree and they'd be like, "Oh, this is the kid." Like that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is like that's just one example. I'm sure I can find more. Let's not try it too hard, but I'm pretty sure I can find way more of examples of police in Georgia like being super fucking corrupt.
Mm.
Like having somebody get killed and nobody gets arrested because of that is just insane. That's literally like that goes against protocol for any state in the United States for like if you kill somebody with a gun, even if it is in self-defense. Um and that happening because someone's like a former cop and it's like a small town. That's just not like an example of policing the state of Georgia being like super secure. So why would I invest $90 million in something that they say that they want? It's a gift to police if it's from the Atlanta Fraternal Order Police, right? Or Atlanta Police Foundation, sorry. Um I'm trying to see where the dots align where it's like, okay, the police are gonna be better off, they're gonna be less brutal, there's gonna be less unjust policing, because we invested $90 million into this black neighborhood in Atlanta. Like I'm trying to see where these connect, you know? And if you sell me on this, then that's
Um,
great. I feel a lot more comfortable, you know? But I'm not being sold just yet.
so hey, sweet. My thinking is if I want police to do better in these scenarios, we probably need some better training in these scenarios. Um, for police brutality and everything, I feel like they have boards for this. Okay. What cop stations be focused on is we're focused on training for shooters. As you like to say, we're training for riots. We're training fire department for how to handle their vehicles and how to simulate like rescues. I don't know why you guys do this thing where like if something isn't a perfect fix to like every issue we have, it's like not good enough. Um, I imagine that if this helps at the very least with like school shootings or robbery simulations or anything, then it would probably be pretty good investment, especially if cops all over the country can use it, not just Atlanta police.
Right, but are they
Um,
gonna use it to be are they gonna is them utilizing Cop City, is that gonna lower unjust shootings? I don't see that connection. That's what I'm trying to pull out. And if I don't see the connection, then why is the fuck is it worth $90 million?
well, I don't think you see the connection. So I think you think the cops are just going to train to shoot more people unjustly. The connection I'm seeing is that like it feels like this is a step in the right direction where we're trying to at the very least get our cops to act a little bit better in these scenarios.
But all right, so
Uh,
you keep on doing this thing where you say better or more efficient. You didn't say more efficient, but you just say better policing, right? You
mhm.
think that additional training automatically leads to like more just policing and less police
I think
brutality,
I
and I
think
don't see that
with the
connection.
studies
Just
I've read, more training generally helps cops act better around the way they handle scenarios they might fuck up in otherwise.
training
Now,
for
doesn't mean that the racist cop is gonna see a black guy. He's gonna be like, "Well, I'm not gonna shoot him because I learned how to better handle my firearm the other day." That just means he's gonna shoot him more efficiently. That's probably not gonna change.
no. My
But I
my
mean, like,
thing
this
is
is a step in the right direction.
no. My thing with the policing is a lack of accountability, and there
Mhm.
are serious mental health issues with a lot of police officers. If you respect police officers, you have to acknowledge that policing is a really tough job. You see the worst parts of humanity, really fucked up things. Being
Mhm.
better at shooting and being better at riot control doesn't necessarily mean that the amount instances of police brutality are gonna go down. Yeah, if you can like
It
control a riot in 10
doesn't.
minutes
This
versus 20 minutes,
doesn't mean
like that
we
all
shouldn't do it
right, but like
either.
Is it worth $90 million though?
If this can be used by cops from other nation and cops from other countries, then probably yeah, I would imagine. But again, this is also Atlanta's budget. This is what they voted on. This is what their elected officials decided on. I mean, like, I don't know why I would have a personal issue with them investing in what they think. Like, I think 90 million is probably.
What my issue is that it's not a. It doesn't seem like it's a good investment. That's my
It,
issue with it.
it seems like it's a good investment for their particular issues, which they want to address crime in their state and they want to address
How's it?
um,
Wait. For
training.
even wait. If you were purchasing
Yeah.
something for
Mhm.
like a large sum of money, right?
Yeah.
Why would you take the word of the salesman of its like of its value and its efficiency? Aren't you gonna like look at reviews or be like, okay, let's actually verify this value
I
and
can't
efficiency, right?
I
Like
can't
when you
get
chose a
reviews for a
college a
product that
couple.
doesn't exist yet.
All right,
That's the issue. And progressives are losing their
when you
minds
build a
over a
product that
city of
exists, you
cops
look at
that
the
hasn't even
plans, you look
happened
at the
yet.
goals, you do trade studies. Of course you do. Of course you do. Like when you were looking at the college that you go to currently, that's a lot of money you probably pay for college, or a lot of money gets spent on educating you for 4 years, right? Like, did you just like take the word of the person that gave you the school tour, or did you do some more due diligence? Did you go on like Rate My Professor, or did you look at like the past reviews? Did you like YouTube, oh, different things at the school, different past events at the school, find a subreddit for the college that you go to currently? Like, where that's a large investment, right? So I'm assuming that you did that. That'd be the common sense, sagacious thing
Yeah,
to
obviously,
do.
I did research in
Like,
my college,
why
but
is
the
not the
difference
city of
is
Atlanta,
that
if they want less police
it feels
brutality,
like
if they
the
want like
research has
more
already been
just
done.
policing?
Studies have shown that cops do better when I keep using the word better, but I don't know how else like to explain. Cops seem to act more efficiently, maybe whether personally they're not, when they have more training. Training seems to help alleviate some levels of crime, whether we think that that's unjust arrest or not. Um, but like every metric seems like the cop saving is good. Now, if we say it's like too big, or they could have downscaled it, maybe. But like this is what Atlanta decided they want to do for their budget, for their police officers, their elected officials. Doesn't seem like they're getting much pushback on it, except for like the crazy like out of state progressives who are like, "What the fuck? Why you guys spending so much money on death camps for cops?" I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if they're deaf cants, but I just don't have. We just don't know if this is gonna help
We
police
we
or.
do know. We know that by any other metric, we would say that like more training generally equals
But
better outcomes
training
for
for
everyone involved.
what? We like once again. All right. Where's the harm
From
reduction
what the
training? Where's
Atlanta,
the
Georgia
nonviolence
Police
training? Like,
Department has said, this is going to be training for scenarios they are going to simulate in the city. If you guys want to get more
how do we
like
verify that?
de-escalate, I mean, we can wait for the city to be built and then we can verify that way.
Okay, so
I
we
mean, like,
gotta spend the $90 million to figure out the $90 million is a good investment or not.
I'm I'm like trying to like I'm trying to like think of like how this makes sense in like a different way. It's like
No,
if we were like we're gonna build
it
this,
doesn't. That's the thing.
I feel like this is like why we don't have trains in this country. And I'm gonna wrap this around. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
to convince people why we get trains, they'd be like, well, trains don't seem to work. And I'm like, well, it seems like trains work in every other metric for every other like country. Like they're more efficient in moving us here and they're far less like daily on the environment. Like we should just have trains. And it feels like Americans feel like, well, I need you to prove to me the train's gonna work. It's like we haven't built the train yet. I can't prove to you the train's gonna work yet. The cop thing might fail. Maybe like cops will become actually worse because they're more efficient killers. But like we haven't got there yet. The city isn't even done yet. You
But
guys are losing your
why?
minds over
So
a city that isn't done yet.
so is that worth $10,000? Is that worth $90 million
It's
to like
worth
to
ten
just
thousand
gamble that
dollars
away on something
to
so
the
dangerous that could be
city of
so
Atlanta who
harmful
decided to
potentially?
budget this city. Yes, it seems like it's worth it to them. Like I feel like for you guys, the more worth expense would be we should invest $90 million into building like a happy place for cops to go so they can get like therapy they're gonna skip over so they can go back to efficiently killing black people.
If it were up to me, if it
Or
were up,
inofficially but like they're not trained.
yeah, if it were up to me, like I would advocate for mandatory therapy. Yeah, I would advocate
I
for
don't know why
bias
I don't know
training,
why it has to be like one or the
for
other.
harm
Why
reduction
can't we
training.
do why can't we do that and this? Why
Well,
does the cop shooting have
that
to
90
stop?
million estimate is just for a city. It's just for the land.
Yeah.
Um,
Why can't we do both? Why is it like always all or nothing for you guys? We can say, hey, cops probably need more therapy. Cops probably need more psych training. Cops probably need more like
all right, but
de-escalation
that's
like
90 million
training
dollars that's earmarked just for that city. So if we find
because
out that if we find out that just the
crime is
therapy
at
and stuff
an
like that
all-time high
fixes the
and
issue,
people
then why
are
would I want to spend the 90 million dollars?
because crime is at an all-time high. People are sick of crime. I
No,
know
it's
we're all
not.
insulated.
Crime is not at an all-time high. Crime in Atlanta in particular was much higher during the 90s before you or I were born. Like no, that's not true. Like crime's been going down for decades.
I'm pretty sure crime steadily started going up.
During
Now maybe
2020
I'm
for a brief
wrong. Okay,
spike when people
maybe
were unemployed, you had to imagine like if every young adult between the age of 18 and 25 is unemployed, yeah, I'd imagine crime would just go up just because that's just like what adult men do when they're not working 40 hours a week. Yeah, that is a thing. Yeah. But it's gone down since, and like it's nowhere near the rate that it was during the era when Hillary Clinton was saying the word super criminals.
like you guys have like all like the top hits today. Oh, are we gonna talk the Biden crime bill today too? We're gonna do that one.
No, no, no. I have my counter arguments for the Biden crime bill and everything.
Okay.
No,
Just wondering.
what I'm saying is back during like 93, 94, crime was significantly higher than
I
it is
I
today.
probably should have said all time high. I'm sorry, that was a little hyperbolic.
Oh, so
Crime is been on a steady increase. We can say that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it probably had a small blip of a spike in 2020. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. There are plenty of reasons
Well,
for that.
2020 and 2021. If I look at 2022 stats, I'm sure it's probably high there too, right?
2021, really. I'd have to look into that in particular. But Cop City wasn't a
So
response to everyday crime. It was a response to protests and riots.
yeah, I know it's always about rights. Um, it seems like this was in response to crime rates going up. Now, if we think it's disproportionate, that's okay. Unfortunately, we don't live or vote in Atlanta. This is what they budgeted out. It's what their officials decided on. I I'm just I'm trying to imagine because like I feel like for the last like 3 years we've saying like constantly we're training, constantly we're training, constantly we're training, and now Atlanta's like we're gonna section off this part for cop training, and he goes like, well, we don't want to train that way. But I don't see any I don't see any like extra like oh we should do this instead. It's always just like we don't want cops to have more money because they'll be more militarized
Yeah, they could be more militarized.
and kill
Yeah,
dead people.
it like if they weren't becoming more militarized, why are they working with the IDF?
But imagine IDF wants
You
be able
wait,
to fail handle their shit in their
you
country
went to
too.
you
Now
think the
what are you guys like
IDF,
giving
you
our
think that the
vetting?
Israeli Defense Force is like, yeah, we want to invest in Cop City, become more non-violent to Palestinians.
Um
You don't
the
actually believe
IDF might
that.
have their the IDF might have their reasons for wanting to invest in it. I don't care about the IDF, okay? I don't live in shithole Israel, okay? Where every country around me is trying to kill me. I live in America, and America's issues right now are we have an increase in crime. Whether we want to say it's slight or not, it's an increase, and people who live in these areas want to decrease. Um, if that decrease comes in the way of training cops with a $90 million facility that we think is worthless, we can say that, but like that's because we're saying it from like our ivory towers where we're not seeing the crime.
So I'm still I'm trying to think of a single example. Just give me one example of like I'm trying to think of one instance of like spending like dropping a gross amount of money with no real evidence
Oh, we more we loaded
that
with gross. I mean, I'm sure I can't think of any now. Not even loaded it.
yeah, like just like a nasty amount of money um in order to in order for some effect, right? but without any really strong evidence besides the salesman saying this is like a good deal.
The strong evidence is that when we train cops to be more efficient, crime seems to decrease. When we give cops more money, crime seems to decrease. Now, we can say police brutality goes up too, or we can say that like there's a bunch of other negative correlations there when we give cops more money. But the forefront, it seems like the politicians care about right now is when you give cops money, crime seems to go down. When you send cops to an area, crime seems to, I guess, increase because you find more crime and then decrease. It's like this argument we've been giving conservatives for years. Like, why are all this crime in black communities? Well, because they're over police. If you have a bunch of cops there, like they're gonna find like more crime. That's actually probably a good thing. That
That's
means
an
they're doing
that
their job.
that's an example of systemic racism. Is there more police in the area? Yeah, they'll find more crimes. But yeah, these crimes are being committed
Okay,
in
hold
other.
on, wait. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry, because maybe I am wrong. Okay, Jesus, you guys are.
I don't mean I.
That's
Wait,
an
wait.
instance of
Oh,
no. It's an instance of systemic racism. True, but when you send cops to an area, you're going to find more crime. We both have to agree on this. If I send 20 cops into an area, I'm going to find more crime because there's more cops in that area. We both agree on that, right?
mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
Okay. Okay. So we can say this. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying like if we give cops more money, they're gonna find more crime,
Okay.
which I imagine we think is a good thing.
Not really. No.
Okay. You don't think finding more crime is a good thing?
It depends on the crime, right? If there's like
I
violent
can't
crime
imagine
and
there's too many crimes that are good.
if there are things like traffic stops and if there are things like, oh sir, I think I smell marijuana or my dog smells drugs on
Okay.
you,
So
and just like just
I know I'm not in like Foshland. I'm talking about like actual crimes, like violent crimes. Where you think finding violent crimes is good. I'm talking about like the Vosh like
the
super
best
top
way to
soldier who
right. And you know
find
the cool thing
evidence
about violent
eventually.
crimes is that the best way to take care of them is prevention versus response, right?
The
So
best way to deal with violent crime is to deal with the issues in those communities that lead to violent crime. That's absolutely true.
yeah,
But
excellent.
that
Yeah,
takes
so
time, and people don't want to do that.
it
They just want
does
to
take
throw cops at
time.
it.
It does
Yeah,
take time.
absolutely.
So my thing is, do you think $90 million is a good investment for taking care of prevention, for crime prevention versus like a versus versus like response? Because I'd rather invest in the prevention. We have a really good crime response, right? Like we can get cops in most places in most cities very quickly. For violent crimes, cops can arrive very fast, right? And they're out at all hours of the day. Like I think the city of Atlanta has like 3 different police organizations like in the city at all times. Um, like Atlanta is swarmed with police and cops. That, but for $90 million from the city, well, 30 to 60 million, because the other 30 million comes from private donors allegedly. So for 30 to 60 million dollars, what do you think the city of Atlanta can do to drop crime in the next 5 to 10 years? I don't think like,
Drop
and you
crime.
can only choose one thing, right? Like where does like increased police training like come into that equation for dropping crime in the next 5 to 10 years? Like I don't think that investing in Cop City would be like the best way to drop crime in the next 5 to 10 years in Atlanta. So if I had 30 to 60 million dollars to invest in that, like I would
To drop crime, I think I would
lower
probably
crime,
agree.
lower violent crime rates.
Um,
I don't care about people
that just
doing
giving
drugs or
cop
selling drugs or whatever, but lowering violent crime rates. So like murders, armed
what could they do
robberies,
with 30
rapes
million right now to drop crimes?
in the next five to ten
Um,
years. Not an overnight
that's
thing.
just I don't even know. That's because like I don't think you can just deal with money. I don't think drawing money. The issues would be you
Can
would
I
have
can I
to
offer a few
address.
things?
There's probably oh you can't. I think the issue would probably be like
No,
there
I
would probably be
can.
like
There
you have
you're a
to
Stockton. You
address
should
like
know
housing
this.
issues. You would probably have
Yes.
to address um mental health in the area. I don't
Yes.
know how many homeless people are in that
A
area
lot.
versus like
It's a
some say like
city. It's a city.
California.
The answer
Yeah.
is a lot. The answer is a
Um,
fuck ton.
Well, I'm saying like in proportion to like other like large cities. I don't know
Oh, I don't
how
know about like
yeah,
California. But
like versus like other like larger cities.
nah, bro, I've been to
Um,
Atlanta. It has in that I live in Orlando, Florida, right?
mhm.
I've never seen the thing that you see in movies where you'll see like the homeless people like huddled up around like a gas canister that's like on fire on the inside, just like sitting around it for warmth. But that's like a thing that you'll see in Atlanta, and it's like very eerie to see. Um, it was just dirty as shit last time I went. Um,
You probably have to give people like more economic opportunities because
mm-hmm,
most people are not going to be dealing drugs and shit because they want to do it for fun. Um,
mm-hmm.
yeah, but for addressing rising crime, I imagine that giving money to police is probably what you would do. I don't know what that would
No,
be the
you
same.
just listed up so many better things that can drop
I
crime in 5 to 10 years, and you're saying let's give this money to police instead. Let's give this 30 to 60 million dollars of government taxpayer money to police instead.
it's the issue is everything I said could theoretically fix the crime. And I imagine it probably would. That's the reason why I place most positions. The issue is that implementing that is far harder than just giving your cops more money. It's uh it's easy for getting your voters on board with you because they want to see a decrease in crime. Having more cops in the area does seem to decrease um, people becoming criminals, or at the very least, it leads to cops finding more crime, which would help with decreasing further crime. I I mean, like it's not like a perfect fix, but I mean, like
It's not a perfect fix.
if you're
It's
gonna
it,
address it in any way,
yeah. Reacting to violent crime isn't as good as just preventing it outright, right? Um, I think everyone can agree with that. But so I'm saying like, why doesn't the city of Atlanta invest more in cities? Invest more in like when I say cities, not cop city, invest more in like mental health care, invest more in like addressing economic issues for different people. Housing is a major issue, and not just in Florida, not just in California, not just in New York, but all over the country, especially in places that like Atlanta. Like people dropping 70%, 80%, 90% of what they make on housing is crazy. What does that do to families? Like what does that do to young people? Um, like it probably has like some really like nasty effects that we haven't really considered or thought of. Um, or that I can't really necessarily like list right off. But like yeah, economic issues do lead to increased criminality. Um, that's not something that like I don't think you even argue against, right? My thing is though, if I want to drop crime in the next like 5 to 10 years, once again, like I don't even know if police would be number 10 on that list of things to invest in. If I was like to make a top 10 list, like mental health and housing, definitely. I'd probably invest in jobs. I'd invest in infrastructure. I'd invest in educational opportunities. Um, yeah, violent crime happens for like economic and mental health reasons, dog. It's not because of like, oh, there's I don't see police anywhere, so violent crime happens. Um,
I I don't
Aside from that,
understand. I feel like because I'm just gonna recircle back on my point. I
yeah,
feel like we can do all of that and train cops to be better at being cops. I'm not seeing a negative on train cops to be better at being
I'm
cops.
yeah, I'm on board with training cops to be better, but there needs to be accountability. There needs to be mental health checks. There needs to be like a nonviolent ways to like handle crime that the police
Then why
currently
don't
aren't equipped
then why
with.
don't we just
Training it
why don't we just say that instead of saying like conservation happen at all? Why is I feel like the argument is like if that sounds like a more reasonable take.
Cop
Oh hey,
City,
we
yeah.
can do cop city and we can do like better training for like mental health. That sounds like way more reasonable than like this
Well,
needs to stop because we're gonna militarize police and they're gonna like kill black people because police hate
my thing,
people of color.
right, my thing for Cop City shouldn't be a thing at all. Is that cities and states can't raise funds. It's not like the federal government where like they can just whip out money out of nowhere, right? Um, Cities and states like these are finite resources. So why would I be okay with like such a high amount of finite resources going to a going to a cause that I don't necessarily believe is a good way to make society better. Like I just don't see that juice being worth the squeeze, and I'm trying to I'm really trying to see
Imagine,
justifications for it. I
you know,
genuinely am.
'cause
Like
I'm not,
if I can be the
believe it or
contrarian,
not,
that's
I'm
like
not a city official for Atlanta. Okay, they don't pay me enough for this.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Look. I love being a
but
little
I would,
contrarian. Fuck. I would love to be the guy that defends police. I just don't see
I imagine
any
their
reason
argument
to
would
do
be
so.
is that if they train cops to be better cops, which seems to work for affecting crime, whether we disagree or agree on how that works out on the end, um, then I imagine their argument would be if we train cops to be better, crime goes down, then people are more willing to move in, and then people are moving well in, and they provide more economic stability to the area. We open up more jobs, and then we can handle the other shit on the back end.
Yeah,
I feel like
these things
that's
don't
unreasonable,
necessarily line
or
up. All right, so you agree?
they
I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to tease and kind of stretch and see where the big disconnect is happening at. Because I know
well,
you
I think
want to.
the big
Because I know
disconnect
you want
is
to do
that you
both.
guys don't like cops, and I think I'm generally just like ambivalent about them.
I think policing is a noble profession. I think that enforcing the law is like something that is justifiable and something that every state should have and every nation should have, right? If it wants to run effectively. I think that the way we do policing is fucked up, and I don't see how Cop City is going to help that because I think it's simply just going to increase in the militarization of police. When I want to focus on de-escalation tactics and mental health for police officers, I'm pro police in the way where I want police officers to have a sense of integrity when they do their job. I don't want the biggest pieces of shit to rise up to police chief and police captain like so many of them have done in the past 20 years. I don't want it where police officers go and then go to work, then leave work, then go to work, then leave work, then their mental health gets fucking shattered in the process. I don't want it where people see police officers and they feel a sense of disgust when they see them. And I want the nobility and the integrity of policing to be redeemed and to be fixed in this country. But I don't see how a $90 million gift to police currently with no strong measures of accountability or for fixing mental health or for de-escalation training, where I don't see those things present. All I see is the $90 million being given to police, and that's my issue right there. If the $90 million, like, look, even housing and fucking housing and mental health, like out of the picture, infrastructure, economic jobs out of the picture, just like the like stabilizing the cost of living out of the picture entirely. Even if those things weren't a factor, like I need in the $90 million was used on policing. I don't see how that $90 million is going to be used on de-escalation, on increasing mental health, on increasing accountability measures. All I see is riot control and further militarization. Like
There's just so
the,
many riots in Atlanta. They dedicate a whole city to it. Um, I I don't. I mean, like, I don't see like the It feels like the argument is just they shouldn't do it because they haven't done the other things. Maybe that's like the worst faith interpretation of your argument. That feels like that's
no, it's
like
not. It's not. It's not.
they
I
could do better. I don't know why they're doing this at all. That's what it feels like to me.
yeah. It for me, like with money, right? I think just like just for economic wisdom sake, right? You want to see what you're investing money into, and
Okay,
whenever you make a
so
big investment,
we,
like say if you're buying a
I'm gonna
house,
stop this again. We've
if
done this like 4 times already.
yeah,
We
yeah, it
we've
feels like
seen
I'm
it.
not being.
The
It feels like
the
mhm.
investment is that if you, oh my god, if you invest in the police seem from every study I've seen. Now maybe there's like a hit piece out there that's been done on cops and it actually proves that this is wrong. When you invest in cops, cops seem to handle crime better. Cops seem to do better when it comes to like exerting extra force. Um, I mean, I'm sure I can just like Google like, um, maybe I shouldn't Google it this way, but yeah,
Google police training correlation to police brutality.
Mm, okay, we have a Harvard State, but I don't think this is gonna be what I want. This is gonna
Yeah,
be like,
you can go to the Harvard link, the one that says why police training must be reformed.
yeah, that's
Yeah, it talks about how policing got fucked up after the war on drugs during the 80s. Next one's an NBC link, right?
mm,
I'm trying to see anything that's evidence to your point of like just like a flat out, oh, more training in general, like equals like less violence. Like I've heard that before in 2020. But then I heard a counter after that during 2020 as well. And the counter is that like the training's militarization, and while militarization is decent for war zones, like it's not great for cities where people are supposed to live and work in and just like enjoy their lives in, right? It doesn't necessarily work out the best. I want the best for my people in America, right? And
okay,
I
so third link down, we have from the Atlantic. That one didn't give me what I wanted. I figured it wouldn't. Uh, we have how training avoids um his loss of life or whatever. So I can just read through this real quick. Can this might just be
yeah,
for
yeah,
cops need training so they don't die.
yeah, so here's the thing once again. Like while longer hours in a police academy is great and all, like right now our policing is very heavily militarized. Like I want de-escalation training, I want mental health, I want more accountability. The blue wall of silence is a real thing, and it's something that allows for a lot of fucked up things to happen that we don't even necessarily report all the time. Like for even as an example, even the guy in the woods that allegedly had a gun during the when the police were coming through in Cloud City that the cops shot and killed him,
What?
even that guy, like that's still like a lot of silence is going on and a lot of like questions that the police aren't answering, and honestly refusing to answer about that situation. Um, like I just don't see this as something that's going to be a great investment. And dog, it's 30 to 60 million dollars of taxpayer funds. Like in order to drop that much money, I kind we kind of need a little bit more proof that it's going to be used in a proper way. Like cities and states cannot, once again, they cannot raise funds. They can't create their own currencies and things like that. Everything they have comes from like finite pools. It's not like the national government. So when we're working with like a budget that is limited, a budget that's already giving the lion's share of the money to the police, why would an additional $60 million be a good decision? Like when that can be used on housing, that can be used on like uh well, I always said housing, so I was gonna say infrastructure right after, and that can be used on mental health resources, for just healthcare in general, for economic opportunities. Um, like what can 30 to 60 million dollars do to help out with housing in a metropolitan city? That would be fantastic. What would that do for economic opportunities in a city? That'd be outstanding. What would that do for just other infrastructure things, like to make the city more walkable, to make the air more clean, to make more like arts and music investments into the community in a place like Atlanta, which is known for things like arts and music, right? But how can that help different businesses that are struggling? How can that help bolster and create new businesses and new economic opportunities? So the young people who do these crimes, these violent crimes, like are less likely to go into like a life of crime. How can that help education? Like what can we do for after school programs, things like that? And how can we help feed kids in Georgia and Atlanta, um, in Atlanta in particular? Um, what does that do for mental health? Like if there's a place where people can go for mental health screenings and like gun lockers we can even invest in. But I don't see why. I don't see the logic. I don't see the care. I don't see the well thought out uh plans of creating a quote unquote cop city for militarized police training when we can invest in all these other things instead. I don't see the point in dropping $10,000 on a project such as this and like defending the person dropping $10,000 on that. I don't see the point in defending like someone that knows that police, especially in America, can be really fucked up. And then dropping $15,000 on that, I don't get where this is coming from. I don't understand why these things are even worth defending. Why waste your time? It's a Monday night. It's a good night for playing a new Street Fighter game. You can be going to a nice dinner or something like that. Like you can be doing homework. You can do anything in the world. Why even defend it? It just doesn't seem like something that'd be like that's worth anyone's time, really.
Um, I mean, my defense of it is going to be that I want cops to do less shitty when they do their job. Seems like giving them money seems to correlate with them not doing shitty.
You're still looking for a stat on that one,
Um,
right?
yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Or I mean, I'm sure I can find like the studies, but you want one for correlation to brutality.
Yeah, I'm looking for that one as well. For more training equals like correlation to police brutality in particular. That one's gonna be a tough one because a lot of things. Because once again, as a SOCDEM, you should be looking at systems, right? And environments, because you can't make a decision outside of an environment. Is what I always say. So even for police, like where they have an environment where they don't have like proper mental health screenings, and there's a police culture of like even ignoring mental health screenings or just bullshitting your way through DEI and nonviolence trainings, um, and bias trainings and things like that. Um, and a culture where there's going to be very little accountability if you were to like go ballistic on somebody one day. Then like, what's the incentive for going to trainings and things like that? Um, where there's like such a scary police culture of like of um of crushing criminals in a militarized way of treating them like dirtbags, like you're a RoboCop from New Detroit and off the RoboCop movies. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. It's just not the formula for success, right? Like I don't see
Well,
why that's worth
every
90. Not sorry, not just 90. Let's cut it down from 90. Private donors donating 30 million. They have their own profit incentives and shit like that, right? Motorola, like being like the people that sell comms gear to different police units, like of course they donate to Cop City. Um, my thing is, why is that worth $60 million from the city of Atlanta? Like, out of all the things to drop $60 million on, it'd probably blow both of our minds if we really like had to like sit down and like we thought of like, okay, how can I use? Say you have $60 million and you have to spend it on a metropolitan area like Atlanta. Like just going over like what that can do to help people would be insane. Like there's so many cool things that can probably happen. Um, to and like they drop it on police, dog. Like that's just so wild to me. Um,
the the question I would have would be, is any of the things we've listed for helping Atlanta, is any of that popular for them, or is it just like this is like ideas we have?
popular. Cop City
Yeah,
is
like
not necessarily a popular project.
I can't say it. It's like or any of the other like solutions popular. So like it's say something like improving housing to reduce crime. Is that more popular than just funding for Cop City? Also, like in February, now this probably might be lying 'cause, this is coming from Atlanta. They have a history apparently. Um, had 61% support. So I mean, that's feels like a lot of support for Cop City.
The stat that you're going off of, that entire you mean that poll, right? With like less than 500 people?
Uh, where is that?
So out of a city of almost half a million people, less than
Oh, there it is.
500 people were in support, and that's at a rate of 61%. The population of Atlanta in 2021 is 496,461. That number is going up to my understanding. So it could be at half a million right now. So
That's what surveys.
my
Hold on. I just
My
want to.
the pain point that I'm
There were
seeing.
685 respondents. Half respondents lived in Atlanta's eastern council districts. Roughly 16% lived in the core Buckhead districts. Roughly 34% lived in the southern districts. According to the survey, 57% of the white respondents supported. This is so weird. Supported building the facility. Roughly 27% opposed. 16% were not sure. Approximately 50% of those surveyed reported their race as white. Okay.
Yeah, it's not a
Um.
really strong poll suggesting that, and it is a really hot button issue out in Atlanta with 1,000 people. Not sorry, was it 1,000 people showing up for public comment during the last city council meeting? One second, let me go back to that link I had. Sorry. Let's duplicate this and then let's go back. Let's see what that one said. My apologies. All right. So city council prepares. I'm just going
So
back
we're
to
saying
associate.
600 isn't. We're saying 600 isn't good enough for respondents on this poll, or
Out of a city of almost 500,000 people, not really. And this is coming from a poll of people. Once again, the pool of people asked. This sample is kind of a faultier sample, if I'm not mistaken.
it's because they're it's because they're dumb and not. I I'm trying to like trying to get the breakdown on like why 600 isn't a good number for this stat. Or
All
is it
right,
just because like
685 Atlanta residents answered a series of questions. So the survey's response rate was 2%. What? Do you think that's an adequate poll? Like, if 2% of people respond to the poll?
okay, so
So less than 500
I mean
people.
like
Sorry. When I said less than 500, I meant less than 500 people, not survey, but less than 500 people said yes, that they approved of Cop City out of this poll. That the mayor of Atlanta pointed out. There's this is like what you call a bottom of the barrel justification right here. Like this nigga's scraping, bruh. If less than 500 people say this, and you're like, yeah, this is definitely surefire proof that the city of Atlanta approves of this.
now
Like I don't know, dog. Like less than 2% of people answer.
I don't know if stats is not my forte, which it might not be. I thought
It's a very
for
low
that sample
response rate.
size, I thought that was fairly good, but maybe it's not.
Well, according to George Easton, an associate professor of information systems and operations management at Emory University, he says a 2% response rate is very low.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just I don't know. That's the source from an associate professor from Emory. Um, it's a very weak conclusion, and it, to say that this is something that's like democratically like desired is that's a really strong claim, and like there's not much.
I mean, we'll see when it's voting time, and we'll see those. I mean, like, because like the killer here would be if it's not popular, all these people should theoretically be voted out come election time, right?
The thing about municipal elections is
Oh,
that
I'm
very
sorry. Wait,
little people vote. Yeah, it
oh well. I mean, sounds like a dumb problem. I mean, like I now this is gonna be I guess like kind of rude. I mean, if you claim carries issues, I imagine you show up to vote for them.
yeah, voting the state didn't voting pass like a bunch of like different voting laws that were like anti-voter, where it's like you're not allowed to pass out water to
Well, I'm
voters.
I'm gonna stop letting progressives do that thing whenever we talk about voting issues. There's a lot of like shitty voting laws that will pass in this country. People who want to vote will go out and vote. I've never met someone who's like, I really care about these issues, but fuck, they moved like the voting day one day over, and like I can't get it. Now that might be true if like you can't get to a polling location or like it's set up in such a way that you can't go vote. Um, but I feel like progressives think that like like people who are like serious on these issues will make up excuses not to go. When like if like you know you're gonna vote, you're gonna be gung ho about it. I feel like only like
Oh my.
the young, like generally privileged voters will make excuses. But that's also just like that's also my personal experience with it. I mean, maybe it's incorrect.
I think it's incorrect.
Um,
I think that all right. It's weird that you have a math background and and these are some of the conclusions that you get to. All right, so if you make things harder for people, then like
mm,
just by the numbers, like less people are gonna do something if it's harder. Humans are
less
naturally
people
very
who are less people. Yeah, I've heard this one too. People who are lazier absolutely will make excuses. Absolutely true.
yeah
People
no
who
wait
generalize issues. Humans, okay. I
it's
don't
human
know about you
nature to
guys. I
be.
don't know. I don't know who. I don't know what progressive coin is. You guys. I don't know. I used to say this
Wait,
now.
listen to the
Humans
point. Listen to the
are
point.
natural. Yeah. All right. No. Humans are naturally going to avoid conflict. That's absolutely true.
No, like
But
humans are natural optimizers. Like so people either optimize for efficiency or they optimize for efficiency, right? So by efficiency though, how we define it internally is different for a lot of people. Sometimes for people it's to save time and energy and effort. For other people it's to like have outcomes and things like that. But either way, like we're optimizing like in a way that like humans typically do. Um yeah, it is so where people can feel a certain way about elections and then they're like, okay, it got a little bit harder. I'm gonna find a way to like not do this thing. That's just
I
a
think
little
it's
bit
like the
harder.
vast majority of older voters.
Yeah,
I know like
it's a lot of younger voters that do shit like that.
well then if you're not gonna
And
show the vote, I mean like then like you
it's
didn't care
younger
that much about the
voters. It's
issue.
like it's voters with less economic security. So say like for example, if someone has to pay $40 for a voting ID, then like for a
Mhm.
lot of
Are there
people,
voter IDs in like Georgia?
I'm not. This is an example. I'm just kind of breaking this down for you. I'm not entirely
Okay.
sure. I didn't have to use like a at least a driver's license. I'm assuming. And even
I think
those
it's like
things are.
every state you have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
have a
So
driver's license.
doing things like either like walking super far away for a polling location, or like paying $40 for a voter ID. Those are things that like a lot of poor people don't necessarily can't really slot in, or they're kind of like personally disincentivized or disenfranchised from doing so. Um,
Yeah, those are shitty.
yeah, it's really shitty. And you know, in the United States over the past 10 years,
But like
we've closed
I
over a
doubt that that's like
thousand
the
polling
issue for like the
locations.
vast majority of people.
What?
I doubt that's the issue for the vast majority of people though, right?
For a lot of like poor people, yeah, it's an issue.
What's like the number on like a lot? That
For
works on a
voting
lot
ID or
less, right?
for what do you mean? What's the question one more time?
What's like what's like the number on like a lot of people are disincentivized to go vote?
Hmm. I'm not entirely sure. I do know here's a number that I do
Okay.
know. Over the past 10 years, we've closed over 1,000 different polling locations. 10 years ago, we had 1,000 more polling locations, if not more than 1,000 at this point, in the United States, and they've been closed down. I don't know how many are out in Atlanta. I don't know how many are out in Georgia in general, but we're closing down polling locations at like kind of wild ass rates, in my opinion. And a lot of these locations that are closed down are in black and brown neighborhoods, lower income neighborhoods. Usually the type of neighborhoods that'd probably be against something like Cop City. Um, so even you can even see the breakdown in Georgia, like just the sense of disenfranchisement amongst people in Georgia. Even with the poll that we both looked at, right, where it had a 2% response rate, and the majority of those respondents were white and lived in the suburbs. Like this is from a sample size that's like kind of like relatively pro police, but like Atlanta is like a metropolitan area. I do admit it does have a lot of suburbs in Atlanta. But these are people that say that but Atlanta police at a higher rate, um, like are brutal and like unjust and like have complaints coming from black residents at a higher rate than white residents. Not a higher number, but a higher rate. So like a percentage rise, right? Um, my argument is that even if every city council member doesn't get voted off and only like one or two people do, like it doesn't mean that Cop City is like a popular thing. Um, just because like a lack of people say no to something doesn't mean that it's consented to.
Okay. I mean, we can say that, but I mean, like, if I'm like, I think voting is like probably like the one thing I think if you don't do, you probably just didn't care that much.
I you know between you and me, I tell people that on Twitter. Like if I'm shitting on like someone like Paul, if I'm shitting on like anyone that's like, oh, don't vote, then I'll personally tell you, then you're kind of like a bitch that like it's kind of like a weak ass that needs to like actually go and vote. But like it doesn't necessarily always break down like that. Especially with influencers, like I think they're weaker bitches than other people. Um, but no, there's like a lot of reasons why people don't vote. Is it always justifiable? Not necessarily. But does it mean you deserve a bad thing that happens just because you don't vote or like choose not to make it out? Like also not necessarily, right? Wouldn't you agree with that? It's like, yeah, you didn't say no, so you
Um,
deserve what happened. It's like like imagine like a friend of yours like gets like raped or something and you're like you asked them, "Hey, did you say no?" Well, why didn't you say no? That's we call that a there's a term for that. I just forget the
you're gonna
term
say
for it.
victim blame. So like, I, hold on. I don't know. We don't, which side are you streaming? I don't know how like it's, it's like a Twitch or
Where what am I on? I'm on Twitch, yeah.
okay. All right. It's just hold on. I'm trying to think of how edgy I can be on the site. I don't know if you
I
know.
just said rape without saying the R word, so I don't. And there's like
Okay.
three people watching me right now, dog.
So like for hold on. For something like rape, I don't know if I would conflate that with not voting. Um,
You wanna change it to like a robbery or something like that? You wanna change it to like say like a burglary?
well, 'cause
It would
I
be
was gonna say
like,
because like for rape, if we're gonna because there can be scenarios where you saying no could have avoided a scenario, but I guess we're probably talking about super violent, like
yeah. Do you wanna change it to like burglary where it's like less violent and more benign than
yeah, we
rape?
can do like
Where
burglary.
it's like say like a
Okay,
burglary,
so like
say like your roommate like leaves the door unlocked, then like when nobody's home, someone walks into the house and like steals your fucking TV or some shit, and yeah, I would just I guess there's like a tad bit of like why the fuck didn't you lock the door, but like are
yeah.
they the one that's like directly responsible to the getting their TV stolen? I don't know if I'm comfortable saying that. Are you?
It would depend on the scenario. But like I mean like I don't know if that changes anything I've said about voting. Like I mean like if you care about an issue, but like you don't care about enough to go vote on that issue, then like I mean the rest of it's performative.
Not necessarily like we not necessarily like
Feels like it's almost certainly that way. Like if you say like you care about like something, like if I say I care about trans people and then someone's like, oh, you can go vote for like this Democrat, I'm like, oh no, I think voting shit. Well then like I don't actually care about trans people. I care about being performatively
there's voting
like
disinformation,
socially progressive.
there's a lack of feeling of political efficacy when
Mhm.
it comes to
If you care about an issue,
local and
you should.
municipal
I would imagine you
elections.
would look
Um
up your information that you would
there's like an
like know
right.
like
So
I can't imagine I'm pro like abortion and like I get tricked into going to the wrong voting place
a lot of voters are
because I think I'm gonna be busy
like
that day.
no, dog. Like, there's no way you think that voters have like a can pass like a high school civics test. Do you think that the majority of Americans can do that?
I think the
I don't
I
think
think the
so.
people who are publicly engaged probably could pass the civics test. Yes, but I
Right,
mean
but
like
I think that people can be anti-police and like still like really fucking stupid when it comes to like their sense of like political efficacy. I know plenty of people like that in my personal life. You're on a college campus, so even if you want to deny, you won't deny it. But you're on a
yeah
college
no,
campus, so I
there's
know you know plenty of
absolutely
people
oh my
like that
god yes
who are like
sitting in on like
anti-police
the
but just don't
feminist
understand the
conversations and
importance of
it's just
voting. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of just because like someone's like fucking stupid doesn't mean that they should get fucking like screwed over by their elected officials. I don't believe that. Um that's a black pill position that's just like that's not in me, bruh. I
well
don't got that
I
I got
didn't
that dog
I
in me,
didn't
not that
say
black pill.
I, I didn't say screwed over. I said that if you care about an issue, I imagine you would take time to like research the issue and then vote on the person who best supports your issue. Like when voting time comes around, I imagine you're like, okay, I care about abortion. Like, am I gonna vote for this nice guy who's like, I think abortion is cool, like up until like the third trimester, or am I gonna vote for the guy who's like last name is like anti-abortion? Like, I mean, it's gonna be kind of tough. I feel like, but or even like,
For city
I
council elections is a little bit
or even like
different.
for like some of your progressive like ideals, like if you're a progressive, I imagine you probably just vote blue. I mean, like, if you don't like cops, you probably just vote blue. I mean, you might get like your blue, like Democrat who like likes cops and he wants to invest a lot in cops, but like, I imagine you're probably not voting red. So we're already like narrowing it down there. So all you gotta do is just research which blue guy you want to vote for,
It's tough
or
with
which
it's
independent guy you want to vote
it's
for.
genuinely tough in municipal elections to do that. A lot of the people that are pro cop city are Democrats. Those are the Democrat
Yeah,
Party. Yeah, the Democratic Party is you know how widespread it is, right? Like you
mm-hmm.
have AOCs and Maxwell Frost's, and you'll also have um Dianne Feinstein's. You'll have fucking who's the lady from Arizona?
Kristen Sinema.
Yeah, you have the cinemas, unless she should change parties. I don't know if she did or not. You have the
I'm
Joe
pretty sure she's an
Mansions.
independent who just caucuses with the Democrats.
Yeah, and you'll
Right?
have the Joe
Isn't she?
Mansions in West Virginia, who's a Democrat, but he's Joe Manchin, you know? Um
I have yet to find out what Joe Manchin's done so wrong to you guys. I'm waiting on it. Okay.
he oh, the thing that Joe Manchin did, he was against the minimum wage
Yeah,
increase.
that's because it was unpopular.
No, it's pretty popular. It's just
And
like
he
I don't know how viable it was in states like
$15
West
minimum wage
Virginia
was
and Mississippi. Like,
$15 minimum wage was not popular.
is what?
$12 was. I think Manchin's like it was down for that. $15 was not popular.
Not in West Virginia. I don't think it was, and I don't think it's
Well
viable
then,
in West Virginia or in Mississippi. Um,
well, if it wasn't popular there, then Joe Manchin did what he's supposed to do. He's supporting his constituents who voted him in.
yeah, yeah, out of those two places, yeah, but the entire country getting held up on the vote of someone from fucking West Virginia is crazy. But I understand Joe Manchin did what he felt like he had to do. I'm not extremely pissed at him. Um,
Well, like I mean, like nothing hung up on Manchin, but like Manchin did what he was supposed to do. He like his state didn't want it, so he said no. Like it's not for his state. You guys can vote how you guys want to vote, but he's not gonna vote. Yeah, so that makes sense to me.
yeah, Joe Manchin's he's what you call a neoliberal. I understand Joe Manchin's position on that. It's fucking West Virginia.
Well,
It's a state where like you'd be surprised to have any Democratic elected officials, let alone a senator. Um, so so that's I'm not extremely pissed at him for that. And senators do tend to lean right wing, um, whether they be blue or red, versus Congress people, in my opinion. But that's fine. That's fine. Um, but yeah, were
I,
there any with the things that I said, man? Were there any like major pain points that 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 would make you more sympathetic to my side of the argument? That I haven't fully addressed.
for Cop City,
Yeah,
um, um, gonna be honest, I'm gonna say no. But that's just because like I just I feel like you guys just don't like cops. That's okay. You guys don't like cops. But I mean
I like
like
cops fine. Like I think once I said, man, policing is a noble profession. Like enforcing the law, putting your life on the line that's a noble thing to do. It's just like how the corruption that we've allowed as a country to like infect that profession is just really fucking sad. And I don't see like that. I don't see enough Americans willing enough to acknowledge that and willing enough to
like
like.
we acknowledge it every single time something happens. With every shooting, okay, I learn a little bit more about the history of America and its police brutality, and um, I feel like cops fuck up. I think that's really bad because I think cops probably shouldn't fuck up like basically ever. Um, but for me to get my utopia where cops are perfect, killing machines only for people I don't like, they gotta be trained more. I can sit here and say like, they could have done something different with their money, but this is what they said they were gonna do. It feels like the data supports that at the very least. I don't know how good this one is. Like intensive training, police leads to reduce crime, fewer arrests, but that's not really what we're looking for because we're looking for like police brutality. Um, I think there is one. Um, one of these tabs. Um, there was one that saw that procedural justice training reduce police's use of force. Um, and that was done in 2020.
What was the
So like
article called? 1 second.
procedural justice training reduces police use of force and complaints against officers. I can just shoot you the DM
Oh, gracias.
of the
Yeah,
yeah.
for me, man,
Um,
my pain point once again is that whenever investing in something super expensive, you want to make sure that you're using that money properly. Whenever you're buying a car, whenever you're buying a house, whenever what the fuck is that noise?
There are entire
Oh, it's
museums.
fucking car ad. Sorry. Um, sorry. Whenever you're choosing which school to go to, how much to take in student loans, and things like that, you want to make sure you're getting your money's worth and you're not going to get fucked over because of it. Like if someone were selling you a car, you'd want to have like a mechanic inspect that car beforehand. You want to make sure that there's like warranties and things like on it, like the tires are good, and that you communicate the
true.
price because of that, right? It seems like the city of Atlanta went from $30 million to in talks to increase it to $60 million, um, and to cover different loans at the
What
Atlanta Police
would it
Foundation.
be?
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck?
And
Would it
covered.
be a little poetic if the reason why they're getting this increase for maybe even like if we're gonna say just rioting is because progressives are protesting so hard against something that hasn't even like been a thing yet.
Um, that'd be a wild. So, would it be justified dropping an additional $30 million
Oh yeah,
on
I
because of
think
the
that
backlash
justified,
on
but like it,
something?
but like would it not like halt you a little bit if like cops were like, oh yeah, like 60 million is okay, and then they were like, wow, holy shit, like people are like rioting and shit. We don't know how to deal with it. We're gonna have to throw like more money at this to make sure we can definitely deal with this when it comes up again.
Well, I know I'm on Twitch right now, but I think that'd genuinely be really fucking retarded if they did that. That would make no sense at all. So it'd be like, hey, let's drop millions of dollars because 23 people got arrested for domestic terrorism charges. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and because there's like a very unpopular backlash, that would be against their best interests as elected officials. It'd be against the best interests of the people of Atlanta and the people of Georgia and the rest of the country. It would be genuinely really fucking stupid if they did that. Um, I like usually at city council meetings, you'd be like you'd maybe have like 20 people that are grassroots like members of the community speaking for public comment. Like there's over 1,000 today who signed up to speak at public comment before the Atlanta Public Safety Training Facility vote, right? Before the Cop City vote. Like this is something that a lot of people in Atlanta, and Georgia and the rest of the country think is particularly shameful and disgusting. And to increase the funding because you don't like the backlash is just so petty and so wild. Like I don't even know if he'd be fit for office.
For those people who spoke, I'd be curious, how many of them are Georgian natives? Like how many of them like actually live in the state? Or how many of them are just like people who traveled there because they were like super ass on Twitter?
Could you even
And
could you even
then
sign up
how
to
many of those
speak if you're
people
not
were
if you're not a Georgia native or an Atlanta native?
that's my question. And then like my second question would be is of all the people who spoke, how many of them were negative? How many of them were positive? Because like I mean I can hear like a bunch of them spoke or to speak about the vote, but I mean like I that doesn't give me anything to go off of. Like if everybody there was like Georgian native and they were all like this is really really bad, and they were like okay well we'll take it into consideration. That'd be way different than like half of them came in they're like yeah like we still want this thing, and the other half were like we kind of don't want it or we really don't want it, or you guys are like evil fascist pigs. I mean, like, it'd be like my question.
When I'm not I really don't want to have like this fight whether or not like it's something that's like 100% democratically uh popular, just because like just because something's bad doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be democratically unpopular. But also like the evidence for it being democratically popular isn't there either. Let's not get that confused. Um like right like I'm pretty sure different Jim Crow laws and segregationist laws and pro slavery laws were around in Georgia in decades and centuries past. Doesn't necessarily mean it's like a morally responsible thing to have, right? Something that
Sure, you know, like we have like a lot of
yeah.
like
So
weird like anti-white shit, white people shit nowadays. Yeah, I think that's all like pretty morally bad too. Like just because like habits mean it's
anti-white
good, but
people
doesn't
shit.
mean that. Yeah, I feel like colleges have probably gotten to that point
How so? In
where you have
any
like black only houses or black only sections of the college. I think it's probably pretty weird, right?
how's that anti-white? This is a different conversation. Holy shit! I'd
If
like to have
you're,
this conversation with you
yeah,
though.
it's a different,
Different
conversation. Yeah,
conversation.
I was, but yeah, um, but I mean, like we, I just feel like the thing I'm harping on the most is it feels like one, this hasn't even happened yet. Okay, I feel like everyone just heard cops were getting a budget increase, and it's
They've
like
always
when you
gotten
hear a
budget
military increase,
increases.
yeah,
It's just
well
that
now
this
they're
one is
getting
like a
a big
really
budget
big one.
increase.
Yeah, it's a big
Yeah.
boy. Um, but where's the value in it? You know, like it's like imagine going to like a restaurant and it's
Hmm.
like and like you get hit with like a bill for something that's really fucking stupid. It's like holy shit, I paid $60 for a hamburger and it tastes like shit. Like it tastes like McDonald's quality. Like you, I bet you'd be pretty fucking mad about that. I'd be pissed. Like I'd do a one man riot if I got stuck like that. Um, so what I'm saying
Um.
is like once again, like whenever assessing something expensive, because like it won't end with just college. It's gonna be like buying a car and buying a house and shit like that. And buying college for your kids too. It's like you want to look at like the bang for your buck that you get, because your resources are gonna be finite, and it's just irresponsible to just take things on the word on the salesman alone. It's completely irresponsible in my opinion. And also the link you shot over, right?
Mhm.
Um, so the one saying procedural justice training reduces police use of force and complaints against officers. I
Mhm.
see no evidence that Cop City is going to focus on the procedural justice model of policing. Like I can look at articles saying, "Hey, de-escalation practices helps lower complaints and use of force against officers." Yeah, that's great too. A can't wait works as well, but I don't have any guarantees that Cop City is going to help out with that.
Uh, I mean, sure. It's not, I mean, I don't know if it's procedural training in cop city. But I mean, I think they're trying to address a different issue, which was the main issue. It's that you're focused on like police brutality, and they're focused on
And also,
training their cops to be more efficient in handling scenarios.
yeah, and also just looking at the procedural justice model of policing. All right, so procedural
Mhm.
justice, just how Google's defining it right now from mass.gov, says it refers to the idea of fairness in the processes that resolve disputes and allocate resources. So I just don't see how Cop City in general is something that follows that model. If you're allocating $60 million in resources to a simulation of such things, and then also procedural justice is something that like increases transparency with policing, right? If
Mhm.
you shoot somebody in the woods and the body cam footage goes missing,
Sure.
um I don't know how transparent that is, you know? Um
Oh, they should have shot him quieter.
like
I
if there are different
I
people
don't even
like
want. I don't want to like talk on like the shooting because I don't know if that guy was like unjustly killed yet. We're gonna wait on that to come out. Okay.
yeah, so
For
if you're looking at
the
cases
cop
like
say
mhm.
thing, like you're focused on two different issues. I think that's like the disconnect you're gonna have. Is that you're focused on the escalation training, and that's not what they're building Cop City for. Now, I guess that's like the only issue with Cop
Uh,
City. Like,
yeah,
what do I have to say?
de-escalation training, like demilitarization, mental health for police. Once again, no one gives a fuck about like forced mental health trainings for police officers. Not trainings, but mental health evals for police officers. That's actually something that needs to fucking happen. You don't want someone that's gonna have a crazy ass fucking like PTSD episode while on the job. You don't want someone that's gonna be on the job, they see something really shocking and they have a heart attack and die, right? Like this like caring about police officer bullshit, like it just doesn't seem genuine when you like really examine things like that. And when you look at things like when you look at the cases of like Maurice Hampton, for example, if you look at fucking other people as well, like it just seems like there's a lot of like really sus things that police in Atlanta and Georgia have done in the past. Ahmaud Arbery, for example, as well. Some would say Melvin Williams, but I think that's kind of a more black and white, more shades of gray situation. Um, it really is something that's kind of concerning. Um, and yeah, it's just something that's
Okay.
like not. It's just something that's like not really looked at or respected. Damn, it's getting late for me. Looked at or respected super hard. Holy shit. Hey yo, do you want to wrap
Um,
things up pretty soon? I know you're out
yeah, we
in
can.
like a you're out in a different time zone. It's about 12:13.
Okay, that's like 11 for me.
Where I'm at.
Okay, hold on. I just okay. I just like for like a comment on your Twitch thing. Okay, having spaces for marginalized people. We don't have to do this time. We can do this next time we have recorded.
Yeah, sure.
Well, having people in some shape or form oppressive to them is nowhere comparable to segregation. Okay, if you're having spaces for brown only people and you're saying no people allowed, you're
Oh my
segregating.
god.
Now we can progressify that and say it's okay because there oppressive white people aren't there, but it's still segregation. Cops at base. I love cops. Okay, they're so fun. I just think that the cop city shit hasn't yet been like
Dog,
negative.
it's D&D that oh fuck, I hate calling them It's Gone. It's D&D, the person that goes by It's Gone right now. Like they seem pissed.
Well,
Um
yeah, it's just like I'm like
Let me see their comment. Having spaces for
I
marginalized
love
people without having people
cops. Okay.
in that some way, shape, or form are oppressive to them is nowhere comparable to segregation. What the fuck? Yeah, I don't think it's segregation. Like we wouldn't
No,
say
it's.
these,
I
we
mean,
wouldn't make
but it's
these
okay.
arguments
It's
for.
like progressive spin. We can do it next time. Okay.
Yeah, we wouldn't make these
Um,
arguments for like say like black orgs or for women only spaces and things like
I think those
that.
are also. I
I
think
the college I
having
went to
like
had a queer only space. It
I
was
think
actually a
having
really
like
chill area.
a
Um,
a black org or like a women's on space, those are like magnitudes different than having like we're gonna have a space where only black people can go because otherwise the white guy might oppress them racially. But I mean, hey, progressives have somehow walked their way back into segregation. Okay, we've done it. All right. Pretty soon we're
yeah,
gonna be like, we need black only cities because white people being around them makes black people too uncomfortable. Um, okay, you can go. Do you want to go first? You want to let a man to? I
oh
mean,
yeah,
sure.
closing
You want to?
statements. Yeah, I can go into
Yeah,
closing
you want to go first?
statements. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm cool. I'm cool with either one. Yeah. So my closing statement is essentially that whenever you invest money, like especially like large sums of money, especially large sums of money on the behalf of people that you say you're representing and caring for and working in the best interest for, you always want to make sure that money's being spent in a way that's going to be provide the best outcomes, right? So even
Mhm.
if you ignore things like fixing housing situations, fixing infrastructure, making more jobs, more opportunities for people, investing in the arts, investing in science, investing in healthcare, investing in mental health, investing in green spaces so people don't have to like have a car smog in their fucking mouths and faces all the time. Investing in businesses. Even if we ignore all those things, right?
Mhm.
Even if we use this money on the police only, then cop city still is not justifiable because we can still invest in mental health for cops. We can still invest in different incentives for cops to be well behaved and to report bad behavior, we can still like cut down on things like the blue wall of silence, which is an issue. We could do things like have like invest in actual de-escalation training, in actual fucking what was that shit you called like procedural justice training, the procedural justice model of
That's
policing.
super.
We can
Yeah.
also we can invest in those things, but we don't have to do it while making a simulated city in a formerly protected green space in a city near a black neighborhood, in the face of all the other things that we can be investing in. We don't have to do that if we want to get to those outcomes where there's less police brutality, less unjust shooting, less officer accidents that lead to deaths or incidents and things like that. We don't have to invest that. We don't have to make a simulated city like that where the projected cost is 60, but that could go up from there. Who knows? Um, we could invest in like way more things, but I don't know. That's just me. Whenever I make expensive decisions, like whenever I'm buying a car or whenever I'm figuring out like where to spend money on for rent or wherever I'm spending out like where to buy a house if I ever become a homeowner one day, I'm gonna do my due diligence. I don't understand why other people are against doing that. Um, but hey, that's life, the American way, you know. All right, that's my closing statement.
Yeah, I think if we're gonna talk about things like better cop training, better handles for the installation and everything, we can have conversations. We can invest in infrastructure and helping low income areas in a lot of different ways. Seems like for de-escalating crime or lowering crime rates at the very least, investing in police seems to work. Whatever we want to say it's the right way to do it or wrong way to do it, like we'll have a conversation when Cop City's done. I don't know why progressives are super aggro on this city when it's not finished yet. It seems like everyone only wants to focus on the riot work that's going to be done there, probably because they want to just riot without cops hammering down them. Um, I wish that when we had conversations about what we should be doing for police and everything, we had conversations a little bit more honest rather than pretending that every cop is secretly a fascist who wants to murder black people the minute they get a chance. Um, yeah. Uh, if now in a couple years, if Cop City is finished and I'm wrong and Atlanta's actually 10 times worse on black people, I guess I'll eat my words. But right now, I don't see any issues with it as it's been proposed. Um, at worst, um, cops would be a little bit more efficient at killing people who commit crime, which I guess kind of sucks for them. But I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, that's about it.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much. Should I call you Mariah Carey's nephew? Is that the best?
You can just call me like Dar or like
Dark?
I think it's good I call him yeah Dar DAR. It's
Dar.
what people
Okay.
call me online. Yeah, far better.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for.
Also, okay, hold on. I just want to before you do this to the cuck boy in chat. Okay, who wants to do the racist like the racial spaces thing? We can do that. All right. You want to like shoot me a shot on Twitter? All right, we can do that
I
anytime
can
you
connect
want.
you
All
on
right,
Discord.
I
I can
am.
connect you on Discord.
Yeah, I'm super confident this shit is racist, but I know progressives want to pretend that segregation is okay now because we do it for black people,
All right.
not against black people. All right.
And they're not cuck boy. They're cuck they them. All right.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to fuck them. Okay.
When they say "let's go," fuck face. All right. Um.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna play video games or something. Um.
Okay.
Oh, she they. Sorry about that. I play.
Oh,
Shit. Should I
well.
play video games? Fuck.
Oh,
Something tells
it's
me.
like
Something tells me. I'm gonna have another
almost 10
conversation coming
hours.
in
Okay, you
really
gotta be
soon.
careful.
All right. Have a good rest of
Oh,
your night.
sweet.
Have a good
Okay.
rest of your week.
Yeah, you too. Yeah.
All right. Peace out.
All right. Peace.
I'm almost certainly gonna get a call from D soon. I already know it. I already know. Oh. All right, D. 1 second. I'm gonna go grab a beer ski. It's been a long day. I'm gonna grab a bullski, eh? And a brewski. Oh. Whoa. Oh, started a call. uh, yo yo,
Yo, what is up, Taj?
nothing much, nothing much. Just chilling. It's good to be back streaming.
It was really good to see you stream. I've missed seeing you do your debates and shit.
Thank you, thank you.
I'll
Yeah.
say this. I'm really proud of your rhetoric this time. You went a little bit more into the rhetorical aspect.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
I'm glad. I'm glad because I know you let people get away with a lot of shit without throwing those little jabs in. And I saw you throw a few of them, and I was like, "Holy fuck, Taj is evolving."
Yeah, I didn't want to be too condescending or too rude or anything like that. I hope I wasn't. Um.
Honestly, you were about 1,000 times nicer than I would have been to that fucking moron.
Yeah, dog. Like, it's so wild that people have these stances because he's a smart guy. Like he's like a math major and a philosophy major. That tells me that this person like knows how to critically think and shit. But like,
Really? Because Aspen's like apparently really smart, but I never saw any critical thinking skills from them either.
yeah, he's pretty smart. I think that people sometimes the issue that I've noticed with people that are particularly that I consider like really smart is sometimes I feel like they let their emotions kind of guide their rationalization. Well, I mean, every human does this, but like I've noticed that with really smart people, they kind of
They
do it
think because
in.
they're smart, their emotion is guiding them inevitably to the correct area.
They think that I think I don't know if they're aware that their emotions are leading to certain things. So like there are certain notes in there where you can tell that he was just really frustrated with progressives on the left. Um, like I hope I was attacking his ideas or trying to
He gave
coax him
me
into.
Dave Rubin vibes almost.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like if
That's.
this motherfucker had a like big platform, I guarantee you is it he or they? I don't know the fucking pronouns.
I think
What
it's
is
he
it?
him. I think his pronouns are he
All
him.
right.
I think.
All right. Well, I don't know what the fuck he was thinking. Legitimately, the only thing that I saw that made me think a little bit uh, was like the polling, but I looked up the poll and yeah, there was nothing there that convinced me a majority of people supported. I mean, it looked like a lot of the people polled were like Republicans.
Yeah. The thing is, and I called him out on this a little bit earlier. Like he referred to a poll, right? And I was like, I knew exactly what poll he was talking about because I already saw that poll. Um, and that was an online survey conducted in between like in about the span of like 3 days. And then someone that's an associate professor of Emory University was like, that's a very low response rate. That's a very fucking low response rate.
Yeah,
Um,
500 people. I mean, for political issues, you really want a range of 1 to 10,000 at the minimum.
yeah, for a city that is a city of Atlanta is almost half a
Really
million.
diverse.
500,000, like very near 500,000 people are in Atlanta. And for
I
about,
think it's like 100 or 200 away from 500,000. Yeah.
yeah, it's very close to half a million people. And it probably will be half a million people in 1 or 2 years from now. And for,
Honestly, maybe by this year, because it was 2020 that the census data was done.
yeah, I think it was about 4,000 people away from half a million in 2021. So that was 2 years ago. So it could be half a million right now. And for about 500 people like being pro this, and this is such a small group, and we already know that the people answering are white and from the suburbs of Atlanta. That tells me
And
something. Like, and
Republicans.
Republican, yeah, like it tells me it's like a really skewed sample. because Atlanta is not, it's called Chocolate City for a reason. It's not a city known for being white and suburban and Republican. Like that's just not a thing that that's not a fair comparison of Atlanta, you know? A fair way to describe Atlanta, or accurate rather. Because fair
Yeah,
is out of
no,
the question entirely.
the crazy thing to me wasn't just like the data argument he tried to make, but also like the instead of like social programs, he's like, well, let's train the cops better. The worst outcome is they're better at killing people unjustifiably. Bro, what? That's the problem. We don't want more of that.
Yeah, I'm like, dog. Like, I don't understand why people. Am I just like a massive fucking miser? Is that it? Where it's like, if I'm investing, even if I was investing like $60 or $600, I still want to make sure I'm getting my fucking money's worth. The higher that price ticket goes, the more you want to be investigating, and more critical thinking needs to go down before you pull the trigger on shit like that. To be like, oh yeah, it could be a bad decision. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Who knows? I'm like, I, I'm like, what for 60 mil? For 60 mil, I want to bank. I want my money to go to good things for $60 million.
For 60 million, you better be sure that your like money is going to like a worthwhile cause, or a cause that like, you know, actually benefits people, especially if it's money from like, you know, the people that live there, if it's tax money.
Yeah, it's like, damn. Like, I know how the municipal elections go. Like, I can't think of a single city where like, well, I guess maybe Philadelphia, even though the progressive candidate didn't. I don't think the progressive candidate won the Philadelphia race. But I remember
No,
how
no,
the
no. I can name one city, Portland.
Oh, Portland. Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, honestly, Los Angeles as well. They have some pretty progressive people on like the more municipal election.
Los Angeles, I'd imagine. I guess, but those are like blue ass states, you
New
know.
York.
New York, maybe, yeah, perhaps in New
I
York.
think New Jersey has some progressives on their city, like the city of New Jersey.
Okay, I know that for example, and Orlando in particular, which is like the sister city of Atlanta. Um, Voting in municipal elections is just like fucked. It's just so fucking fucked. There are people that are like pro, like the guy that won back in 2021, I think. The guy going he's been threatening to retire for years and years now, and he just keeps on winning. He's like, yeah, I guess I'm gonna run again. And he wins, and it's like a vote of like 10,000 people vote in the entire city, and he'll win by like a small margin every time. um and he's because he's the incumbent. And like, yeah, if everybody got off their ass and voted, like we would have a lot more like really great politicians in Orlando. But that's just like kind of like a fact of the matter. It doesn't mean that people consent to it. I really hope my not my rape analogy, because that maybe that's a bit extreme, but I hope my burglary analogy was like understandable.
So this is the issue that I had with your sort of performance. A lot of your analogies and comparisons, I think, were really weak and focused focused way too much on the extreme. One of the analogies I put in your chat, it was something over, well, we don't know if it's going to make the problem worse, right? I said, there's a hole in a barrel full of water. You don't start shooting holes in the back so that that one hole in the front seems less bad by comparison. You want to repair the barrel. You don't want to make a larger problem. Things like that are focused less on like the extreme emotion-based stuff, I think would have worked a little bit more efficiently on someone like him, because he was looking for you to give those like out-of-pocket examples.
You know what? I think that now that I'm workshopping this with you, I really wish I made a more crucial example. Like, say for example, like if there was like a surgery, right? That could that had like that had a chance of either like drastically improving your life, or just drastically destroying it, and then you're in like medical debt. Like, would you do that? Like, I don't know. No, not even
here, let me do this. You have a heart condition, right?
Yeah.
There's a surgery that will 100% fix your heart condition, but there's only a 90% survival. There's only a 10% survival rate, right?
Yeah.
Is that surgery worth it? Is the cost for the surgery greater or less than the benefit?
Hmm.
Because, yeah, you might have a perfect heart and be able to live your life like you're 20, right? But you also might fucking die, and there's a pretty big chance that you will die.
No, you know what? I think that something that might be pretty good would be, for me, like, and even he like walked into this where he admitted, yeah, it could hurt, it could help, but I think it's gonna help. I think was like his argument,
Here's my
right? So if
thing,
there's like a
right?
surgery that was like, yeah, the surgery could help or it could hurt, but it's gonna cost you fucking $60,000 for the surgery. Do you say yes to the surgery because it might help? Like, is that
Okay,
your thought
but
process?
you could use the heart surgery example, but
Yeah.
this surgery could either completely repair your heart or keep your heart the exact way it is and also make your balls not work. You taking that surgery? Huh? Answer me, motherfucker. This is a hypothetical.
Yeah. Like,
Like, is Taj's voice really being stuck like this really worth having a good heart?
fuck. Yeah, there's some things I kind of wish I did different. I know I trailed off a little bit too much. Um,
Honestly, the one thing I think you did really poorly was pressing him when he only used like uh I don't want to call it like whiteness sort of as like a as I don't know, fuck, there's not a really good way to put this, but he sort of argued like a Republican of, well, it doesn't affect me, so I don't care. It could help, it could hurt, but I mean, ultimately, I don't live in Atlanta, right?
yeah, like
Like
what
that was
was
what he
that?
kept coming back to.
Yeah,
And that annoyed the fuck out of me. I wish you would have said something like, hey, look, right? So this program opens up near you because it like trained police really good in Atlanta, right? But in your city, they just start shooting a bunch of black people, right? Are you was the Atlanta police project still a good idea? Because it did lead to harm eventually,
yeah.
right?
I think that they yeah
I
they
know
wouldn't
it's sort of
agree.
a slippery slope
Yeah,
fallacy,
they
but
wouldn't agree that leads to harm. That's their thing. They have this thing where it's like increased training automatically means less police brutality and less unjust police
okay,
killings.
no,
And
because then he said, well, worst case, it just results in them killing people more efficiently, right? Okay, so worst case scenario, police kill marginalized people quicker and more brutally, right? How is that a positive for like $90 million worth of funding, right?
yeah, I'm trying to see like where is this juice worth the squeeze, and like they definitely didn't like they definitely didn't really argue that super well. Cause like even in the end they're like, yeah, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but I think it will. I think like was their argument.
Yeah, but here's my
I just wish I
argument. If I were to
convinced
be the
him.
pro police, right? If I were to be pro police, this is what I would argue, right? This allows officers to train real life scenarios um, in more efficient, more realistic settings. And ultimately, while it could lead to harm, we could prevent the next Columbine, we could prevent the next Pulse shooting. We'll have to do a cost benefit analysis after the facility's built, because then you're not trying to defend like, well, it could kill a bunch of people, but hopefully it doesn't. You could say, well, these could be the positives, but we need to wait till it's built and like the training has been complete to see if it's actually effective or actually going to benefit anything.
Yeah, he did try that. He did try that. And I was like, and my pushback was like, is that really worth $60 million? Like there's no way we can train for mass
Well, I
shootings.
don't live in
There's no way
Atlanta, so I can't tell you.
yeah, and I'm like, and I wish I brought his feet more to the fire with that, where I'm like, okay, so if a city was making like really fucked up like Jim Crow ass laws, like
You see, hold up, here's the thing, right? And then
why would you even spend
he
time to
did
defend that? You know, like
he did something that I saw on leftist meme page comparing like this to like concentration camps, right? Well, we'll have to see what they do when they're built. Like, I could imagine this motherfucker, Nazi armband and all, defending that shit. He's a suck dem more than anything.
yeah, I'm like, I really want to ask him, like, why do you think you're socked him at all? Like,
What is it? Because he doesn't like misgender people? Is that why he decided he's a Democrat?
like, like he's relatively pro-trans. I don't think he's like super anti-trans. Like less so than like the average like left-leaning Twitter user for sure. But I might be than less than the average Twitter user. So, but like, but damn, like his thing seems like pretty spite driven, and I was just like surprised at how spite driven it came off as. Personally,
I genuinely thought he was a conservative. I mean, I would have to go back and listen to the conversation, which I think I might do tomorrow. But from what I heard, really most of his defenses of things were like, well, I don't know if it could cause harm and I don't really care. It was really fucking disappointing. I hoped he'd have better arguments, right?
Yeah, it was just all that shit is like, oh, just take a chance. And I'm like, bro, like there's so many other things we could be doing with the money spent on this quote unquote trance. Like chance. And I'm
the trance.
Yeah, my bad. Chance.
Trance.
It just damn.
Here's my thing, right? I'm all for taking chances on things that may or may not work, right?
Yeah, like a restaurant or something like that, but like
usually those things don't involve like, black people getting killed.
Yeah.
Me deciding whether or not I think it's worth getting food poisoning potentially for me to go eat at a KFC is on nowhere near the same level of risk. Like, well, we could prevent a school shooting or we could shoot up all of Harlem. I don't know cities in Atlanta. I've been there twice.
Harlem is in New York.
I know, but it's like a predominantly black area. That's why I mentioned it.
Oh, okay, yeah. It is very black. I haven't been to I have not been to Atlanta in a while. It's been 2020, 2021 maybe. I think it was
I went up earlier this year, right? But it was for like 12 hours.
Oh yeah, because you was driving, right?
Yeah, we slept. We had dinner with a friend, and then left. That was as long as I was in Atlanta. We were going to go up, in all fairness, to cover the Cop City thing, but we never did.
I'm kind of glad you didn't, because that shit, crazy shit is going on over there. Really scary shit, honestly.
Also, the thing about the domestic terrorism charge, real quick.
What?
How he compared it to like January 6th and how they're both domestic terrorism?
Mm-hmm.
I think the fundamental difference between January 6th and Cop City is that ultimately they're trying to stop the funding of something, right? They're not shooting at police. They're not attempting to murder police, to my knowledge, right? They're defending their little line and trying to keep cops from building, right? But January 6th, on the other hand, you had people actively attempting to kill and murder politicians because they weren't Republican. I mean, the intent was to go prevent not only an election from being certified, but to like kill those who wanted to certify it for Biden. And I think that's where his comparison was deeply flawed. Because one form of violence is more defensive, one form of violence is more offensive.
I think it's tough. I think that I think with the generous description, we all have like our own bias on that, and I'm trying to like eliminate the bias before answering that one. He did have me on the part with the fireworks part. I didn't see the fireworks pictures until earlier today. um
Weren't they like firecrackers though, where it's more like a little loud bang? It's more meant to scare than to like harm, right?
yeah, I can't imagine someone being fully clothed in police gear being harmed by those. I can see someone like not liking the smoke. I can see someone like not liking the noise.
I didn't exactly like when they shot tear gas at a bunch of us protesting police murdering black people, but hey, I didn't have a say in that. So why should the police? Honestly, I think I'm more anti-cop than you are, because you're like sympathetic. I say fucking kill them in Minecraft.
I think my wildest lefty take is probably like being pro Nuremberg trials for police officers, but that's never gonna
What, charge them
happen.
like with war crime?
Who's what? No,
With
I
like
mean
war
like
crimes?
no, I mean like if someone
Or
is just
crimes
like
against humanity?
I mean that if someone's like super wild, like say if there's like known police officers that are like massive fuck ups and massive fuck faces, and if there's ever a
Hang them?
what?
Like, is your solution like put them on trial and then hang them? Is that like your solution?
Maybe not hang, but like say if
I
someone
mean,
say like for like unjust killings, there's like proof they did an unjust killing, or if they did like really fucked up things, then like I'm okay with prison time or capital punishment. Um, maybe I shouldn't say it's on stream for like massive fuck ups of cops. Like I'm okay. That's just I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with that.
honestly,
As
the
long as
more
it's done
I've thought
fairly.
about it,
It has to
the
be a
more
massive
I've
burden
thought
of proof and
about it,
everything.
the more I've thought about it, I'm just for the complete abolishment and destruction of police.
Do you mean abolishment is like just recreating like law enforcement, or?
I don't even know if I'm in favor of that, because I think ultimately that leads to abuse of power as well.
I think there's like an inevitable abuse of power, but I think like with increased accountability, with things like what's the right word? With things like shit, dog.
I think maybe
Oh,
federal police would be better, but even then I have issues of who oversees them. I
yeah.
don't know. I think that law enforcement is too deeply flawed of a principle to like really resurrect in any way, shape, or form. Because no matter how you slice it, there can always be corruption, abuse of power, and unjustified murder.
I think law enforcement's like a necessary thing, and I do believe it is a noble profession.
I
This
don't think it is.
really, I think enforcement of law from the state is like good as long as they're like just laws, you know? Like it's like okay, like
Yeah,
yeah,
but
we
who
arresting
determines
like
if it's
rapists.
just?
Uh, ideally the people.
Okay, yes, but okay, so everyone has
So like
individual
murders and
moral
things like that.
standards.
No, I think that is the job of the state to be
Okay,
kind of.
hold up, but Taj, there's some people who think self-defense, this is people like Rosa Malay, right? She thinks self-defense is like first-degree murder. It's the equivalent, right? There are also people that think you should be able to defend yourself no matter what, and any like pleading of self-defense is self-defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whose standard do we go off of?
Yeah. I think that good question.
Yeah, how do
I
you define what a murder actually is? Because, I mean, fundamentally, it's someone killing someone, right?
self
So
defense
any
is different. If
killing
it's
is
a
a
just
murder.
yeah, no, but if it's like a justifiable killing, I think murder is more of a unjustified killing of another person. Um,
Okay, but hold up. What would you say is justified for killing someone, right? Like some people say, like you break into my house and steal my TV, I can fire 24 shots into your back as you flee, right?
I think there's certain
There are some
levels.
people that say like rape, you should be able to defend yourself no matter what you do, right? Well, there are other people that think, well, that's really not a threat to your life. Just lay there while it happens, right? How do you determine what justifies self-defense?
Just like a threat to someone's life or someone else's life. That you ideally like feel a need to stop. But it has to be justifiable, right? So like it's gonna take me a while to formulate that one, but there are different
You,
ways we can do
you,
this. Like if someone's like flinging water at you, then that's not justifiable to like kill
what
them
if
with
I think
force. But like
someone's flinging water mixed with acid at me, though, right?
if you
I
generally
think that there's something in that water, right?
if you can reasonably
Even though
believe that it's
realistically
acid,
there's
then I
nothing.
yeah, if you reasonably believe that there's acid in that water that someone's about to fling at you, then yeah, I guess shooting them would be justifiable. Be
What
unfortunate, but
if
it'd be
what if I
justifiable.
think that you're talking to yourself, planning something, right? But you're on the phone talking to your friend about where you are and what you're doing, right? Does that give me reason to pull out and shoot you because I think you could potentially be a threat?
That just sounds like really strong paranoia is needed for that.
No, but here's the thing, right? That's what stand your ground has allowed, which is a self-defense measure.
There's a lot of issues with standing your ground. Like just like the
Oh
lady who
no,
got
I
shot
agree.
today. Um,
Yeah, the lady who got shot because some white lady threw her iPad or threw like two black kids' iPad at them.
yeah, and like and if I promise you this, D, in the next week we're gonna see people defending the white lady,
They already are.
saying it's like, oh, she knocked on her door and she was yelling during nighttime because this lady did just a
They
simple
already
thing
are.
of
They think that they're justifying it. Well, if you pound on someone's door during the night or during the evening
it's a
and are
locked
yelling, you could
door.
be
What the
perceived as a
fuck?
threat.
There's a door
Okay,
between
but then
them.
pause. Here comes back to my question, right? How do they know the lady can't just break down the door and doesn't have a gun on her?
Why can I reasonably
They
believe that
don't.
that a 34-year-old woman, I think she's like 34 or some shit, maybe older, that that a 34-year-old woman can knock down a door? Why should I reasonably believe that?
Okay, Taj, say I knock on your door, right? I'm coming to pick you up for something, right?
Who's less than
None
200
of your other
pounds?
roommates None of your roommates know about it, right? I knock on the door. There's a big loud knock. And I'm shouting, Taj, Taj, get out here, right? I'm just trying to hurry. I'm in a rush or whatever. Do you think your roommate could interpret that as a threat and shoot me? I mean, legally, probably.
What? No?
Someone pounding and yelling on your door, you could reasonably understand your ground, interpret as a threat, right? That's why
To just like blindly
self-defense is.
shoot? That's insane.
I agree. It is insane. But this comes to my question of like, who sets what a reasonable law is, right? Who sets the parameters for law? What person's moral viewpoint do we use?
I guess it'd have to be rationally justifiable. But dog, like what I'm saying is I can't immediately come up with an answer with this because I'm
I
gonna
know.
because my stances on this are a little bit different than everybody else's. Um,
Here's why I have to sort of argue this and why I feel like it's an important argument, right? Um, I think that inevitably law can be misinterpreted and misconstrued a million different ways. And that no one really has like a moral framework to like establish what a law is. We have basic laws like no murder, no rape, no robbery, right?
yeah,
Okay.
and I'm okay
But
with like debating this with others. That's kind of like the spirit of like democracy. Like it encourages things like debate and conversation about different things.
yeah, but like
Ideally.
here's my thing, right? So even if we can somehow agree on a universal standard of law, right?
Hmm.
How can we ensure that those who enforce um, and like protect law and like law and order, right? How can we ensure that those people do not corrupt them?
Hmm.
Because we went about establishing laws and Sure enough, there's been a lot of corrupting of it. George Floyd allegedly counterfeited a bill that was later proven not to be counterfeit. Before investigation, there was detention and unauthorized, unjustifiable use of force. Ahmaud Arbery was suspected of robbing a construction site. I mean, theoretically, that could be justified as self-defense. But they pursued him off property and killed him unjustifiably for a crime that there was no evidence of. I think that and this is why my takes are a little bit, I guess, similar to an anarchist's on like law enforcement. I don't think that there's a moral way really that you can enforce or write law. So I don't know if there's a reasonable way we can morally justify law enforcement. I think practically you can, but I don't know if morally you can.
I'm sorry, D. I feel like you're making pro Christianity or pro religion arguments because it's like there's no objective truth, so that's why.
Hold up, motherfucker. Hold up, motherfucker.
That's what you're doing
the
right
same
now.
arguments that, hold up. Nah, Taj, that's the same line of arguments used on that street pastor in Ybor.
That there's no objective truth?
There's no level of objective truth that means we can believe your worldview is correct. We have to take in our own experience. Like you were arguing that exact thing, motherfucker.
Was I arguing that?
You were.
I was arguing like, yo, I thought I was.
You were arguing because of interpretation of Christianity.
If I remember correctly, I think that the Bible gives a little bit of deference as far as like which system. My stance on like Christianity and law have kind of changed a little bit in the past year or so. But if I remember correctly, I probably was arguing that like that there are probably things that Christians should vote for, or give leeway to, because the Bible gives us the power to do that. So as far as like things like tax law and things like that, I think the Bible gives like a pretty wide deference for like Christians to vote however they want. Like, yeah, pay out to Caesar, as Caesar demands and everything, and give it to the Lord what is the Lord's. But like, if a Christian's a voter, like a voting member of like society, then they can vote on like how much Caesar deserves. Yeah.
He was arguing.
He's a libertarian, if I remember correctly.
Arguing the gay stuff, right?
Uh-huh.
And he argued that there's no way that gay people should like have a right to exist in society. He framed it in a legal sense and then used it's like a false marriage thing, right?
Uh-huh.
You argued that there's no objective way to prove that that is how the Bible should be interpreted, and there's no way to prove that that is a law of God and not man's, right? Meaning there's no objective way to prove that that moral framework from the Bible is correct, right? Or from his interpretation of the Bible is correct.
That doesn't sound like something I would argue.
That was basically your argument.
I was similar to something I was
what I was trying to argue is that we can't use religious philosophy to enforce laws, and that, well, you can personally vote or have beliefs that are framed from your religion. You can't enforce it morally upon everyone within a society, which is what he was saying he should do, or we should do as a society. I remember this argument because I kept fucking having to step in and out of it because you would fucking challenge me instead of him.
Yeah, because I can't really vibe the edgy atheist arguments, dog. I'm so sorry. Like, it's those are tough. For the gay marriage things though, it's like my argument for that is that, like, depending on like your belief on like what the Bible says about that, like if voters choose a certain way, then like I can't really force voters in that particular order. This is a different angle than what I usually go about it as. So let's see if I can re-examine myself real quick. Sorry.
Oh, are we arguing over? Are we finally having a debate on religion?
No. Very, actually, kind of vaguely. 1 second. I just need to rethink my stances.
I've been waiting for this moment.
Yeah, let me re-examine my stances for a quick second. Oh, I have an answer for this. I just
By the end of tonight, you're going to be telling me gay people shouldn't get married.
All right, let me think if I remember my stance on this correctly, because I have a thin line to walk.
I have a very wide line to walk.
Yeah, lucky you, huh?
Yeah.
One second. Let me think. All right. So I guess if gay marriage, in the Bible, God says that He does judge nations, right? But it's not, if God judging a nation, it's more on like how we treat the motherless, how we treat the poor, how we treat the people that need to be redeemed, how we treat criminals, how we treat murderers, um, and how we treat each other as a society. It's not so much as like, oh, do we allow, no matter what your biblical stance on this is, it's not so much based on like, oh, do we allow like gay people to have sex and get married and shit versus the other things. He looks more of like literally like there's like a downtroddenness of like how we treat our downtrodden and the least of us, right?
So you believe gay people are the least of us?
No, no, that's the thing. Gay people aren't the least of us. It's literally the motherless and the poor, and the people and like how we treat crime. And we do have to kill murderers. We do need a death penalty, but it's not a here nor there.
Wait, you're pro death penalty?
For murder, yeah.
Really? Because I'm anti death penalty, mostly for cost, but
Yeah, see, the cost of death penalty can go way the fuck down. Like, holy shit.
yeah, if we're to kill them immediately, but then we also risk like 10 years from now and a piece of evidence being found that completely exonerates someone, then you have wrongful death.
Yeah. Yeah,
So there
I think
isn't
that
a way to fix the death penalty, really.
now we can. Lethal injection's really expensive.
What are you suggesting? We use firing squad and make it a little cheaper?
Yeah,
Oh God.
and maybe
Okay, we gotta
hangings
have
too. I just
that
need to see the
debate
efficiency on that.
sometime.
Was what?
We gotta have a debate on that sometime.
Like, yo, firing squad is dude. Lethal injection costs so much. Like, it's so fucking expensive.
I mean,
And
it's
it's
the
not even
housing and
efficient.
stuff
It's not.
someone on death row that costs the money.
Yeah, that part too. That part too. And I'm okay if that costs.
But it's a massive cost. You can half it by just sentencing someone to life.
Fatherless, not motherless. Sorry.
What?
Um. Oh shit! Sorry, I knocked over the microphone. No, I said the motherless from the Bible. I meant the fatherless. Sorry.
Okay, so here I'm gonna give you a little fucking opening statement, and we're gonna argue off of that, right?
Nigga, I'm going
Because
to bed soon.
all right, we're gonna just argue this fucking religion thing real quick because this is what I have a problem with when it comes to your defenses of Christianity. You fundamentally argue, right, that the Bible can be interpreted your way, right? And that your way is like a more correct interpretation, right? But someone else can have that same argument and be anti-gay, anti-trans, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no objective way to prove your interpretation is correct. So why are we arguing as if this book is somehow an objective not only measure of like our current reality, but even like an objective measure of historical reality?
Just because people misread something doesn't mean that there wasn't an objective truth that the author intended, right?
Okay, but what if you're the one misreading it?
Yeah, that's a possibility. And you know what? I haven't found to misread it sometimes.
Okay, so if you're to go back, right, and you read the Bible and you come to the same conclusion as a conservative, the Bible condemns gay marriage, right? It's a sham, right? do you change your prescriptions and your beliefs on gay marriage because a book that there is really no objective way to prove is true? Do you change your entire life prescriptions for that issue or your perspective for that issue?
If my stances on gay marriage changed, I don't think it would affect, unless I had like a legal stance on it that changed. It wouldn't really change my legal stance unless explicitly, unless I thought of like unless I found something that like explicitly was like nations will be judged if they allow these things.
Okay, right. Say you find that though, Taj, right? Does that then mean you're going to advocate against gay marriage?
Yeah, if I believe it's the
Or
right thing to
against gay
do.
people's okay, yes, but here's the thing, right? You believe that's the right thing to do based off of a book. How can you determine that book tells you the right thing? This is why I don't believe in things like the Bible, because, all right, yes, if I come to this conclusion, right, and I ultimately believe it's true, right, morally, I should advocate for that position or that stance. But there's no way for me to prove that verse or the chapter in the Bible is the end all be all moral arbiter for that issue.
One second. Here's the thing about that. Even if there was like a secular, even with secular morality, that's still subject to reinterpretations and re-examinations, right? That always gets like that criticism you had against like about Christian morality in law. Couldn't that be also applied to secular morality in law?
Okay, how would you apply it to secular morality?
Just philosophically speaking, being like, hey, I think this thing's bad because I think it does harm in X way. So I think it should be illegal and these messages should be taken to prevent these things.
How do you come to the conclusion that gay marriage would be? I'll give you the easiest thing to argue. How do you argue that is a social harm for the country?
How do I argue that gay marriage is social harm in a secular sense?
How would you secularly argue that in a way that couldn't be like refuted? Because a lot of Christians say, well, it's in the Bible, so you can't refute it, right? How can you make that same argument through secular thought?
Secular
There's
arguments.
no possible refutation.
There have been secular arguments for gay marriage for decades, if not centuries. I'd imagine they'd say things like, "Oh, well, like society's better if we focus on the heteronormative practices and belief and thought."
That's been the Christian train of thought, so I don't know if that's a fair rationalization.
Wait. Just so we're clear, if we went to Japan or Korea or places in China, we're gonna find no homophobia.
Oh well, I'm not arguing that, but there are places that have Christianity or other like is it like Judeo-Christian roots or something? There are countries that are completely dominated by a religious theocracy that are also really homophobic.
Yeah, right.
Or have like really anti-queer policy, right? But here's the thing,
is
right?
this
It's a
unique
lot
to just
easier for me.
Judeo-Christian values, or is it unique to? Is it or is it not? So
It's
are we
not
gonna find
unique, but here's the thing, Taj. I can argue again. I could much easier. I'd have a much easier time arguing that gay marriage is okay against someone whose like prescription is, well, I read a book. Okay, well, let's break down the rationale or the data behind this book. Let's break down data that proves my point, right? We can argue off of something much more closely grounded in reality than Skyman said gay bad.
I don't know like the rationale behind like Japanese or like more
Well,
Asian centric or
I don't think Japan is really homophobic. I just think they sort of
let's say
I think
when
Okay, again, I'm no expert on other cultures. I focus things primarily in America, right?
Yeah, but don't you think that might be some sort of like crutch or something that might be holding you back from like understanding something in a more naturalistic sense? But just secularly, it might hold you back a little bit.
Okay, here's my basic evaluation of Japan's like view of gay
Oh
people, right?
shit, my nigga.
Um,
Japan does not recognize same-sex marriages or
no,
civil
I know they
unions.
don't. I
Yeah.
know, I know, but I think the existence of gay people and gay behavior within society is recognized to some extent as normal, but it's not accepted in a legal sense because they view it as a separate thing, much like the United States did until the like mid 2000s, early 2010s, right? They view it as something entirely separate from like a civil union or an actual marriage, right? Again, I have a very rough understanding of Japan's culture, mostly because I don't speak the language, and I only have like one friend who's like an American who lives in Japan.
Yeah, you can probably read like a senate. There's like an entire Wikipedia page just on the recognition of same-sex unions in Japan. Um,
Yeah, but I think it would be a lot easier to argue like against like a cultural perception on something than it would be like a biblical prescription on something, right? Because I can argue with data against pretty much any secular moral or secular legal claim. I can argue against it pretty easily. I don't know if I could do the same against a person who's using the Bible as an arbiter of morality. Because ultimately, our moralities come from very distinct, different things.
hmm. I guess I see what you're saying as
Like,
far as
okay,
like it's
let's use a separate issue, adultery, right? I think adultery is wrong, but I think it's wrong because it hurts a relationship and your partner, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, Christians believe it is a violation of like an of a union in front of God. So the punishment for that should be death. I believe the punishment for that should either be like
Wait, Christians
marriage
don't believe
counseling
that.
or a divorce. No, that's what the Bible says. You should stone an adulterer.
In Leviticus?
Yes, it's part of Judeo-Christian law, right? It's in the Bible. I've heard people on the right advocating for it. I believe Milo Yiannopoulos,
It's
Nick
Milo
Fuentes, and other like
Yiannopoulos.
quote unquote Christian right-wing figures have advocated for it. We don't need to get into Milo fully because that's a whole
Yeah,
fucking
but I know,
rabbit
like
hole.
you just went with like one of the craziest people that falsely represents like this belief system.
Okay,
So
yeah,
it's
but
like,
Taj, people would say that you falsely represent Christianity because you're not advocating against gay marriage. You're not advocating against trans people. That argument could just as easily be made against you.
hmm. Eh, I think I can use the Bible to back up my stances pretty consistently. And if I can't, then I'll like come out and say it. And I'm like, I think this is just my interpretation. Um, but I think my
Okay,
stances are
argue
pretty.
gay marriage with Zen Shapiro and see how far you get. Because he'll say, oh, it doesn't matter your interpretation. It doesn't matter if this is the understanding you've come to. The Bible says this is the conclusion. And if you try to say, well, this could be a nope, it's what's written. It can't be changed.
My stance on gay marriage is pretty flexible. It's even if you think the Bible permits it, like it's still something that I think God's given us the not the ability for nations to like decide that. We can't like it'd be wrong constitutionally for us to conscript other people into religion, and that's not how you make actual Christians. Um,
You don't have to say you're conscripting them into religion. You can say you're stopping like the destruction of the
like a
Christian value that your country, that the Christian values that your country has and represents, right? You don't have to say that you're enforcing other people to prescribe to your religion, but you can also be like, well, I'm not allowing you to bring your sin into this country, right?
Yeah. And I'd kind of argue that there's probably an allowable amount of sin that God allows for countries, and like the guidelines that He's left for nations.
Can you
It's
point out a chapter and verse for that? God says you can allow this many gay people to get married and be okay in His book. I need a chapter and verse for that.
good question. 1 second, D. I'll see what I can find.
I've been waiting for a religion argument. I've been DMing so many people to debate on religion.
He gives like quite a bit of like not independence because all nations will be judged, but he gives like quite a bit of flexibility to nations, to my understanding.
Yeah, but He gave flexibility to Sodom and Gomorrah and then destroyed it because there was sin there.
Yeah, because they tried to rape God or rape an angel or something like.
Okay, but if that sin was allowed to exist, how can you come against it? That's a whole different argument, though.
That's like the
We could
free will
argue over
argument that you're trying to make.
we could argue over free will at some point, because ultimately my thing comes down to, if a God allowed for sin, if a God allowed for what you consider sin to exist, and then will punish you because He allowed something to exist, fundamentally that thing shouldn't be punishable because it was allowed to exist, basically. If God makes no mistakes and is perfect and is all powerful, He wouldn't have allowed things to be in the world that are imperfect and harmful. Again, that's a whole different theological debate. I'd have to prepare a little more for us to go into that one.
I think so as well. Gosh dang it. Oh, where is this? Let me see if I can find the word. Sorry, 1 second, I'm looking.
I'm looking up sources too. Yeah, I'm not seeing any verse of like countries are allowed to sin this much in God's eye.
No, 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 it's not that. It's just that there's specific things.
I mean, like I know countries have the right to enforce their own prescription of law onto people according to the Bible, right? But I mean, fundamentally, you're then arguing that sin should be allowed to exist if the government says so. And there comes the problem of, okay, well, if that's what the Bible says, you can't advocate against that being allowed.
Mm, 1 second. I feel like it's not in Corinthians, perhaps. Why am I pulling up Psalms where it says things defend the cause of the weak and the fatherless, maintain the rights of the poor and the oppressed. No. I'd have to dig more into this. Like, my conclusions come from somewhere. I just need to reinvestigate from where.
I mean, once you
Isn't
find
that
out, like,
reassuring, huh?
show me, because here, this is my issue, and I've had this argument once or twice before on like gay marriage, right? If you can't prove to me that God, and this is with people who are like Christian pro-gay marriage, right? If you can't prove to me that God directly says gay people good, yo, go fucking marry, right? If you can't prove to me that God says a country can allow it if it's like a decision made by the country, right? If you can't prove to me like any of those arguments are in the Bible, then you can't argue using the Bible for that prescription or for your pro-trans prescription.
The pro-trans one's a little bit more complicated. Or is it less
Okay.
complicated? Maybe it's less complicated.
God doesn't, if God, this is the thing that's like the anti-trans argument from Christians. If God doesn't make a mistake, you can't be trans.
Oh, that's a really weak argument.
Oh, I agree, and I've
Because like,
torn
if
that
God
one
doesn't make a
apart
mistake, can I
using
wear glasses?
theology.
Why can't I'm not allowed to have a crutch when I'm older? I'm not allowed to have a wheelchair if my legs don't work. Like,
I mean, fundamentally, that is how I argue against that particular prescription, right? But it's still a prescription that
stupid.
someone comes to using the Bible. Which is, again, this is why I think that like secular argumentation, especially on social issues, is so much better, because I can argue off of something real as opposed to a moral prescription that someone has in their head. And if you use a moral prescription and the numbers decimate you, well, you're the one that looks like a fucking idiot.
Hmm.
Anyway, the only other thing I wanted to say is, Taj, we got to debate Polly on the fucking voting thing.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. That sounds fun.
I
It sounds like
think
she's
I'm
getting
gonna
like
issue.
loaded on pretty hard right now, but she kind of deserves it.
Dude, did you see what she said? Anyone who says she's wrong is like a KKK member. She calls them the Ku Klux Karen's clan, right? But like, you know what she's insinuating. If you disagree with her, you're racist and you're transphobic.
Jesus Christ, Pearl is fucking insane.
Oh, Pearl's take today, the fucking child sex one was fucking crazy.
She's like, I understand banging a 13-year-old, but banging a 9-year-old, that's crazy. I'm like, Pearl, what the fuck? Like, and
Oh,
she's saying, I thought she was Christian. She's saying Muslims are way more base than most Christians, though. I will not take that away just because I'm asking questions. Then the Muslims are like, you stupid whore. We wish death upon you, you stupid whore. Like, sorry for
shut
using
up,
that
woman.
accent.
Go back to the kitchen.
Is it fucked up that I use those?
I don't give a fuck. I really don't. I mean, there are some things I guess I am a little more right wing on, and comedy is one of them. If it's for a joke, I don't care. Do whatever. I mean, that's why I didn't really give a shit about the Dave Chappelle like transphobic shit. I honestly, I thought a few of those jokes were funny.
It
But hey,
was.
that's my hot take of hot takes.
I feel scared to talk about it in public, so I probably won't.
I mean, I also said that like the Kendrick thing about like a trans aunt or something, right, is one of the most like interesting perspectives heard from like Black culture on trans issues, because it's not only a like pro-trans perspective, but it's one from someone who doesn't understand but wants to understand because they have love, right? Rose and I got into a whole argument over it, but
Rose is she just has some really interesting. I feel like if a black person did something, she'd look at it with more scrutiny than if a white person did the same thing.
he would.
I genuinely believe that about her.
You see, her and I got into an argument. And she almost like said something against interracial marriage. Rose is an interesting person. I don't know if I like or really dislike her, but She's interesting.
I wonder how self-aware she is on that one. Like, does she?
I don't know. I'm planning to debate her again. We're going to debate what she just debated, which is is cross-dressing blackface.
I love how she does the controls, trolling, the concern trolling.
Oh, trust me, I'm calling her out on that. Let's not reveal too much of my strategy. Did you see her debate with the like femboy YouTuber person?
Fuck no, I don't watch Rose Malay, dog.
She just I don't
Be
either, but
watching
it was all over my Twitter feed. But she debated like this person called like Femboy Cals or something, right? And bro, Rose got destroyed. And this person, like, I don't like the
humiliation
person
kink
who
is
was
doing numbers on
destroying her.
Oh shit!
What?
That humiliation kink of hers is doing crazy numbers on her. Yo,
dude, I swear to God, she needs to not debate so that she gets humiliated because it's sad.
Yeah, she's got to like it on some level. Like it's.
She said she has a humiliation kink.
Oh,
I mean, she said it in a conversation me and her had.
Yeah.
She also said her like sexual abuse takes are because of a R-word kink.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, yeah, no, there's lots of good debates to be had. I enjoyed listening to the debate you had. I can't wait to debate this motherfucker on if
yeah. How do I
black only
connect people
spaces are
on?
segregated. I'm gonna DM them.
Let me just. Oh, you found them on whatchamacallit?
You know what? Just send him my Twitter. Have him DM me. That way I have the power.
I'm gonna send you the Discord.
No, tell him to DM me on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
That way I have the power. I can be the big man in the negotiations. The bomba.
All right. 1 second. Let me get your Twitter real quick. Fuck, I'm running out of steam, dog. Running out of steam.
You gotta stream more. You're starting to lose that streamer energy, Taj.
No, it's just like late, you know.
It's okay. I kind of don't have streamer energy anymore either.
Pearlie's so
After like
stupid.
15
She's
minutes,
so dumb.
I get tired. Dude, I might find a content farm, Rose.
I think Pearl is literally stupider than anyone because she's so stupid.
You should try to debate Pearl.
Nah, I don't have enough clout. But she does like black guys, so who knows?
Send her a picture of your dick in DMs and say, let's debate. Actually, that'd be a wild way to get a debate, but I don't recommend doing that.
I wonder if Pearl has a humiliation kink.
I think she probably does. The only thing I'll say about like Pearl, right? I think part of this comes because there's some heat about a clip that Andrew Tate had of like when he was in his like mid-20s, he like fucked a 15-year-old.
That's insane.
And like he's publicly talked about it too. It's not embarrassing. Like yeah, and Tristan apparently did too.
That's fucking embarrassing. Did both of them hit the same girl?
Yes.
Oh, was it like a train or something? Jesus.
I have no clue. I have to find it, but like they talked about it in a podcast. There's like clips of them bragging about it. Also, I don't know if you saw, but Andrew's supposed to be doing a live stream about like Romania trying to like falsely accuse him this week. Like he's apparently going against his lawyer's advice and doing a stream.
He's like, fuck my lawyer. You're a bitch if you listen to your lawyer.
Yeah, that's basically it. Also, Taj, I have a little challenge for a charity stream that I'm planning on doing. If you're interested in, I'm thinking of doing a $100 donation wager for a Ukraine charity fund for a Ukraine fundraiser.
True. All right, just let me know about. I gotta.
You good at basketball? I need to find someone who is.
No, I'm not.
Fuck.
Racist.
The only thing I'm good at is dunking.
Oh, true. Can you reach the rim?
Yeah. Yes, I can.
Oh, true.
I can reach an 8-foot rim pretty easily. I can also dunk on an NBA height regulation rim.
True that. All right, D. I gotta peace out, dog.
All righty. You have a great night, Taj.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I get to see you stream again this week. Let's see that content go up, boy.
Fuck. All right. Maybe. We'll see. All right. Peace out. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the stream.